Chapter 1942. Are you guys done? The Imperial Advisor sneered. You don't even listen to His Majesty's orders. You disobey the decree and are disrespectful. If this isn't a rebellion, what is it? And I've already received news that you've secretly contacted Xueqi Kingdom and attempted to rebel against your superior to destroy Myriad Kingdom. You deserve to die 10,000 times. Colluding with the Xueqi Kingdom? Nonsense. Who would believe your one-sided words? Yuan Tianjiao shouted. You want evidence? I'll give it to you. Come out. The Imperial Advisor's cold voice was heard. Then, a strong man in his 30s walked out. Greetings to your Majesty. Greetings to the Imperial Advisor. The brawny man saluted the monarch and the Imperial Advisor. Wang Xing, what are you doing here? Yuan Tianjiao was very surprised because Wang Xing was his guard and had followed her for many years. However, she did not let Wang Xing come to the capital. Shouldn't Wang Xing be in the Divine Dragon Army? Yuan Tianjiao had a bad feeling in his heart. Wang Xing, tell me everything you know. The Imperial Advisor said. Wang Xing nodded and said, Yuan Tianjiao has indeed been secretly communicating with the Xueqi Kingdom and has been plotting. When the time is right, he is prepared to plot a rebellion and claim himself as the emperor. However, I am a citizen of the Myriad Kingdom and am only loyal to the Myriad Kingdom and His Majesty. How can I allow such a thing to happen? Today, I will reveal Yuan Tianjiao's wild ambitions to the public. Wang Xing's voice reverberated throughout the entire area. Wang Xing, you dare to slander me? Yuan Tianjiao shouted, his entire body trembling with anger. It was obvious that Wang Xing had been bribed by the state preceptor and had framed her together with him. However, Wang Xing was her guard, and many people would believe what he said. Yuan Tianjiao, your scheme has been exposed. Why don't you surrender? However, since Yen Song has pleaded for you, I can spare your life. As long as you destroy your cultivation, marry Yen Song, and hand over your military power, I will not announce your rebellion to the world and protect your innocence. The Imperial Advisor said coldly, as if he had everything under control. For this matter, he had already started planning. Everything was perfect, and Yuan Tianjiao had no room to resist. The final outcome would be the same. His cultivation would be crippled, he would hand over his military power and marry his son, Yen Song. Yen Song's eyes revealed a smug look as he looked at Yuan Tianjiao and Lu Ming with cold arrogance. A bitch, a dog, and you want to fight with me? You don't know what's good for you. Yen Song laughed heartily, feeling extremely pleased with himself. Especially when he looked at Yuan Tianjiao's heroic face and perfect figure, his heart was burning, and he wanted nothing more than to take Yuan Tianjiao for himself. But soon he told himself, you guys, despicable. Yuan Tianjiao trembled with anger. She understood that the state preceptor not only wanted Yen Song to marry her, but also to take away her military power. Now, the other four marshals had already submitted to the Imperial Advisor. If the Divine Dragon Army was also seized, then the Myriad country would truly become the Imperial Advisor's world, and no one would be able to control him. Yuan Tianjiao turned to look at the king, but the king did not even look at her. He was only drinking with consort Qing. Yuan Tianjiao was thoroughly disappointed. What else? At this moment, Lu Ming's voice was heard faintly. What? The state preceptor, Yen Song, and the rest were stunned. They did not understand what Lu Ming meant. If you're not talking, then you're done, right? Since you're done, it's my turn to speak. Lu Ming's gaze swept across the surroundings. He said with a faint smile, today's matter is like this. The Imperial Advisor, Yen Song, and consort Qing led the masses to rebel and kill the monarch, intending to replace him. Then, Marshal Tianjiao arrived with his men and killed the rebellious Imperial Advisor and the others to avenge the monarch. In the end, with the support of the people, Yuan Tianjiao became the Empress of the Myriad country. What? The state preceptor, Yen Song, consort Qing, and everyone else at the scene, including Yuan Tianjiao, were all dumbfounded. After a long while, he finally reacted. Ha, this kid is about to die. It looks like he's scared crazy. Yen Song laughed so hard that his tears were flowing. The state preceptor, consort Qing, and the others also laughed. Their laughter was full of contempt. Lu Ming's intention was to kill all of them and then let Yuan Tianjiao sit on the throne of the Empress. Was that possible? It was really crazy talk. The Imperial Advisor and the others shook their heads. Lu Ming did not seem to notice the state preceptor and the rest's expressions. Instead, he looked at Yuan Tianjiao and said, "Sky Flood Dragon, what do you think of my idea?" Ah! Yuan Tianjiao was stunned and didn't react for a moment. "I understand. It's not easy for you to do it. Let me do it." Lu Ming smiled, then stood up and walked toward Yen Song. "This person is crazy. Kill him." Yen Song shouted. "Brat, you're talking nonsense." "Dang!" One of the 9-star generals shouted. He took a step forward, and the ground rumbled. His burly body rushed toward Lu Ming like a mountain. His aura was shocking. However, Lu Ming's expression was calm. It was as if he did not see the general make a move. He allowed the general to attack him. "Be careful!" Yuan Tianjiao cried out in alarm, but it was too late to save him. "Brat, go to hell!" Yen Song roared in his heart. His eyes filled with pride. He wanted to compete with him for his woman. He didn't know what was good for him. At this moment, Lu Ming's gaze shifted to the marshal. 2 dark rays of light flashed in his eyes. Then, everyone saw the general's body tremble and he fell to the ground with a thud. He was no longer breathing. He was dead. The general died suddenly and silently. No one saw how the general died or how Lu Ming did it. The scene suddenly became quiet. The imperial advisor's eyes squinted and a cold light flashed in them. "How dare you kill the commander of an army? If this isn't a rebellion, what is it? Attack! Let's attack together and kill this man." Beside the monarch, Consort Qing shouted. Boom! 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 The other 3 9-star generals attacked at the same time. All 3 of them were in the great circle of the Bright Saint stage. When they attacked together, their momentum was rather terrifying. They wanted to kill Lu Ming in one fell swoop. Die! Lu Ming did not even look at the 3 marshals. His gaze was fixed on Yen Song and he softly uttered a word. And NBSP, the power of the God Sword art spread out along with the sound and entered the 3 9-star generals' bodies. The 3 marshals were the same as the previous marshal. Their bodies trembled slightly and their souls were destroyed by Lu Ming. Their bodies fell limply and they were no longer breathing. Dead, he died again. The 4 great marshals, the top cultivators of the Mingyan country, were all dead in an instant. No one saw how they died. A series of gasps rang out in the venue. They only heard Lu Ming say the word die indifferently and the 3 marshals were dead. This was too terrifying. What kind of sacred art was this? It was as if Lu Ming was the god of death and whoever he wanted to kill had to die. Yen Song's expression changed. He became as pale as a sheet of paper and his eyes were filled with fear. The state preceptor and Consort Qing's expressions also changed, becoming extremely serious. They knew that they had encountered a troublesome expert. Follow current novels on Top Novel Full. CM. Chapter 1943. A matter of one move. As for Yuan Tianjiao, he was also dumbfounded and in disbelief. The cultivation of the 4 great marshals was the same as hers. However, her spirit body was slightly higher. In terms of combat strength, she was ranked first among the 5 great marshals, but she wasn't that much stronger. For such experts had died in front of Lu Ming in an instant. What was Lu Ming's cultivation? Could it be that Lu Ming was an eminent saint? In the past, when she first met Lu Ming, although she felt that Lu Ming was extraordinary, she also felt that Lu Ming was at most similar to her. He had never expected that Lu Ming would kill 4 top-tier experts without a sound. Bang! Bang! After Lu Ming killed the 4 marshals, he continued to move forward, walking toward Yen Song. Every step seemed to knock on Yen Song's heart, making his heart tremble. The fear in his eyes grew stronger. Kill him! Let's kill him together! Yen Song cried out hysterically. This person is plotting a rebellion to harm His Majesty. Quickly attack! Consort Qing also called out. Buzz! Buzz! And NBSP whoosh! Some figures rushed out from behind the king and the imperial advisor. These people all had very powerful auras. Many of them were even in the great circle of the Bright Saint stage and were not any weaker than the 4 great marshals. These people were the powerhouses trained by the imperial family and the imperial advisor respectively. This was their true strength. Many experts joined forces and their powers intertwined. It was like an inescapable net that enveloped Lu Ming. Kill! At this moment, Lu Ming shouted again. The sound waves rolled out and spread out in all directions. Those people who were charging towards him from all four directions were exactly the same as the four marshals from before. Their bodies trembled and then fell down limply, no longer breathing. This time, even the state preceptor's expression changed, becoming somewhat pale. As for Yen Song and consort Qing, they were completely terrified. "Demon, you're a demon!" Yen Song shouted hysterically. Lu Ming had only said one word and so many experts had died in an instant. This was beyond his understanding. At that moment, Lu Ming was a demon in his eyes. Lu Ming's eyes were cold as he continued to walk toward Yen Song. Yen Song's body trembled in fear. He retreated continuously and shouted, "Father, father, save me!" "He can't touch you," the imperial advisor said coldly. Then, a shocking aura burst out from his body. This aura was much stronger than anyone else's. Great Saint Realm. "Yen Kuei, you have broken through to the Great Saint Realm." Ruan Tianjiao cried out in disbelief. The state preceptor had already broken through to the Great Saint Realm and was known as the #1 master in Mingyan country. She could not help but feel worried for Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming's expression did not change at all. It was as if the cultivation of the eminent saint realm could not stir up any waves in Lu Ming's heart. "Sword brothers, let's attack together." At this moment, the imperial advisor suddenly spoke. "I didn't expect that there would be such a person in Mingyan country." "That's good. It's safer to attack together." An old voice came from behind the imperial advisor. Then, two old men stepped out and stood with the imperial advisor. Boom! Boom! Then, the two elders exploded with a terrifying aura. The terrifying aura swept through the wind and clouds, changing the color of the sky. These two old men were also in the Great Saint realm. Like the imperial advisor, they were both in the Great Saint lower tier. At the same time, two long swords that looked like water waves floated above the two old men's heads. "Xueqi double sword saints. You are the unparalleled sword saints of the Luo Shui kingdom. Yen Kuei, you are the one who colluded with the Luo Shui kingdom." Ruan Tianjiao shouted in shock. The Wushuang sword saint of Luo Shui kingdom was the most terrifying expert in Luo Shui kingdom. Two top experts in the initial success of the Supreme Saint realm had appeared beside the imperial advisor at this moment. Needless to say, the imperial advisor had secretly contacted the Luo Shui kingdom. He was the real traitor. "So what if I know? Today you will all die," the imperial advisor said coldly. "Kill, father, kill this brat. No, cripple him first. I want him to suffer a fate worse than death." Yen Song was stunned at first. He had not expected the imperial advisor's cultivation to reach the Great Saint realm. Moreover, the unparalleled sword saint of the Luo Shui kingdom was also there. However, he was immediately overjoyed and shouted with joy. There were 3 great saints. Lu Ming was dead for sure, no matter what tricks he had up his sleeve. The Great Saint realm was a legend in Mingyan country. "This is your trump card?" Lu Ming did not even look at Yen Song as he spoke indifferently. He stretched out a hand and pressed in the air. Boom! In the sky, a huge hand suddenly appeared, covering the sky and the sun. It pressed down on the imperial advisor and the sword saint of Luo Shui kingdom. The terrifying aura spread in all directions, making the imperial advisor and sword saint Wushuang of Luo Shui kingdom turn pale. They felt that this aura was not something they could resist. At this moment, they wanted to escape, but they realized that the space around them seemed to have frozen. They couldn't escape at all. This, Yen Song and consort Qing were completely stunned. They stared blankly at the godlike hand in the sky. Their bodies trembled like a sieve. This power made them despair. "Block it!" the imperial advisor howled. He was unwilling to give up, and he still wanted to resist. He formed a seal with his hands and struck out a terrifying palm print. At the same time, the peerless sword saint of the Luo Shui kingdom also launched an attack. 2 sword lights rushed into the sky like a river. However, in Lu Ming's hands, a great sage initial mastery was no different from an ant. As the giant hand pressed down, the 3's attacks instantly collapsed. In the end, the giant hand covered the 3 of them and heavily slammed them onto the ground. Boom! The earth rumbled, dust filled the air, and gravel flew everywhere. After a while, the smoke and dust disappeared, and everyone saw a huge palm print on the ground. The imperial advisor, the peerless sword saint of Luo Shui kingdom, was lying in the palm print like a dead dog, spitting out blood. Their auras were extremely weak, just like 3 ordinary people. Lu Ming's attack just now had already crippled their cultivation. The imperial advisor's eyes were filled with unwillingness and despair. It was over. He knew that everything was over. All. Yen Song suddenly screamed. His body turned into a streak of rainbow light and fled into the distance. He actually ignored the state preceptor and the others and wanted to escape alone. However, Lu Ming flicked his finger and a force flew out, piercing Yen Song's dantian. It pierced through his dantian and crippled his cultivation. With his cultivation crippled, Yen Song could no longer fly. He fell heavily to the ground and let out a hysterical scream. "You're the only one left." Lu Ming walked toward Consort Qing and the monarch. "How dare you touch my beloved concubine? I'll exterminate your entire family." The king shouted and stood in front of Lu Ming. Lu Ming shook his head. The country ruler had completely lost his mind. There was no point in keeping him alive. Lu Ming flicked his fingers and a stream of energy shot out, piercing the area between the country ruler's eyebrows and killing him. Follow current novels on Top Novel Full. CM. Chapter 1944. The Empress. After killing the monarch, Lu Ming turned to Consort Qing. Consort Qing's eyes were filled with endless fear. She looked at Lu Ming and suddenly smiled. "Young master is so young, but you have such cultivation. One really admire you." Oh, Lu Ming said softly. Yen Kuei and his son committed treason and killed the king. Fortunately, young master killed them to avenge the king. With young master's cultivation, it is enough to rule Mingyan country. I am willing to help young master ascend to the throne and serve you with all my heart. Consort Qing's voice was melodious. Her alluring body wriggled like a water snake as she was about to pounce into Lu Ming's arms. At the same time, she looked into Lu Ming's eyes with a strange glint. "You're overestimating yourself by casting a bewitching technique on me." "I'm sorry," Lu Ming said calmly. When he finished the last word, his eyes shone like stars. Consort Qing let out a blood-curdling screech as her body was sent flying. She fell to the ground and vomited a large mouthful of blood. Her face was deathly pale, and she looked desperate. Her cultivation had also been crippled. Lu Ming smiled faintly. This woman had actually used a bewitching technique on him. She was overestimating herself. Lu Ming had only circulated some of his energy and she had suffered a backlash, crippling her cultivation. Lu Ming took a step forward and stood above the state preceptor. He looked down at the state preceptor and said indifferently, "Your scheme is not bad, but unfortunately, you are too weak. What's the use of all your schemes? The heavens are not protecting me." The imperial advisor shouted. His voice was exhausted, and his eyes were filled with unwillingness and despair. He had racked his brains to set up this trap. It was originally flawless, and Ruan Tianjiao had no chance of turning the tables. In the future, Ming Yan country would definitely fall into his hands. He had never expected that Lu Ming would come out of nowhere and destroy all his plans with absolute power. In the face of absolute power, all schemes were laughable. He finally understood why Lu Ming had been drinking his wine calmly, and not saying a word when they were following the plan step by step. They were looking at them as if they were clowns. Lu Ming would let them play around. When they thought that the overall situation was set, he would take action and easily destroy all their plans, efforts and setups. He could only blame the heavens for not protecting him. Why did a person like Lu Ming appear? Who are you? Is there no one like you in the vast C9 nations? The imperial advisor shouted unwillingly. "You don't have the right to know who I am," Lu Ming said calmly. Lu Ming then looked at Ruan Tianjiao and said, "Sky Flood Dragon, what's the next step?" At this moment, Ruan Tianjiao seemed to wake up from a dream. The shock that Lu Ming gave her was too strong. She was shocked that a great saint could not put up any resistance in Lu Ming's hands. He could kill them with a flip of his hand. Kill them all," Ruan Tianjiao coldly spoke. Since things had already come to this, there was no way out. After making her decision, Ruan Tianjiao transformed into an iron-blooded general. She stepped forward and her sword light burst forth, killing the imperial advisor, Yen Song, and Consort Qing. There were even some members of the imperial family who were killed by her. At random, Ruan Tianjiao transformed into a god of death and secretly killed his way into the depths of the imperial palace, killing all the upper echelons of the imperial family. Since he had already come this far, Ruan Tianjiao understood that there was no way out. After that, Yuan Tianjiao took the body of the unparalleled sword saint of the Luo Shui kingdom and stood on the city tower of Baron City. He announced to the world that the imperial advisor had rebelled and colluded with the four great marshals and consort Qing to kill the monarch and the core members of the royal family in an attempt to usurp the throne. Later on, Yuan Tianjiao arrived and killed the imperial advisor as well as a group of rebels. Unfortunately, it was already too late to reverse the situation. Once the news was out, the world was shocked. After a few days, the entire Divine Dragon army killed their way to the capital and took control of it. However, the armies of the other four marshals also announced to the world that everything was Yuan Tianjiao's scheme. It was Yuan Tianjiao who had killed the imperial advisor and the king with the intention of usurping the throne. He had also led the army to attack the Divine Dragon army in the name of avenging the king. However, the four great army corps had lost a powerhouse at the level of a marshal, so their cohesion was greatly weakened. Furthermore, the Divine Dragon army had cultivated the true dragon battle formation, so their combat power was strong. They easily defeated the four major armies and subdued them. At this point, the entire Ming-Yen country was under Yuan Tianjiao's control. A few days later, the Divine Flood Dragon military headquarters used the reason that the country could not go a day without a ruler to invite Yuan Tianjiao to ascend the throne. However, Yuan Tianjiao rejected them. After a few more days, the generals tried to persuade him again, but he was still rejected by Yuan Tianjiao. The third time, it was not just the generals, but also countless people who came to petition for Yuan Tianjiao to take the throne and rule Ming-Yen country. In the past, when the imperial advisor of Ming-Yen country was in power, his reputation was ruined. Now that the imperial advisor had been killed, the people were all celebrating. As for Yuan Tianjiao, she had always had the title of the goddess of war and was deeply loved by the people. The people naturally hoped that Yuan Tianjiao would take control of Ming-Yen country. Only then did Yuan Tianjiao agree to inherit the throne and become empress. Ming-Yen country was extremely lively as they began to prepare for the ascension ceremony. Naturally, Lu Ming would not interfere in these matters. To the Ming-Yen country, he was just a passerby who would leave very soon. Now, he only had to wait for the Nine Nations Alliance before heading to the Divine Time Island to explore the Divine Time Mountain. During this period of time, he had been cultivating quietly. But not long after, a piece of news came. The Luo Shui kingdom mobilized their army and rode the cross-sea warship to attack the Ming-Yen kingdom. The entire Ming-Yen country was shocked. The power of the Luo Shui country had always been above that of the Ming-Yen country. They had always wanted to swallow up the Ming-Yen country. In recent years the two countries had been at war. Yuan Tianjiao immediately ordered the army to attack the Luo Shui kingdom. Lu Ming also set off with the army. When they arrived at the northern part of Ming-Yen country, they saw a few huge warships flying over. In front of the warships was a dense army riding all kinds of strange beasts. The army was very powerful. Our country, Luo Shui, has been on good terms with the country of Ming-Yen for generations. It is unforgivable for traitors and traitors to usurp the throne. Today, the country of Luo Shui has come to seek revenge from the king of Ming-Yen. A voice came from the Luo Shui kingdom's army. How shameless! Yuan Tianjiao shook his head. The Luo Shui kingdom and the Ming-Yen kingdom had been at war for a long time. The Luo Shui kingdom had been trying to invade the Ming-Yen kingdom. Now, in the mouth of the people of the Luo Shui kingdom, it had become a good relationship between the two countries. If you want to find a reason to attack our country, you should find a better one. This reason is really laughable. Yuan Tianjiao's voice rang out. Traitors, you still think you're in the right? Today is the day you die. Kill. The commander of the Luo Shui kingdom ordered the army to form a battle formation and charge toward the Ming-Yen kingdom. Set up the formation and kill the enemy. Yuan Tianjiao gave the order, and the Divine Dragon army set up a large formation. Immediately, a true dragon appeared and roared towards the sky with an astonishing aura. Such a large formation. The commander of the Luo Shui kingdom was shocked. Boom! The armies of the two countries clashed together. Although the Divine Dragon army had fewer people, the true dragon battle formation was too powerful. When the two armies collided, the true dragon roared and clawed down, tearing a hole in the enemy battle formation. Follow current novels on Top Novel Full. CM. Chapter 1945. The Nine Nations Alliance. The army was defeated like a mountain. The Luo Shui kingdom's army had not even clashed with the Divine Dragon army a few times before they were torn apart and their battle formation was broken. Roar! The true dragon roared as its huge dragon claw stomped down. A large number of soldiers were killed by the dragon claw, and blood chi filled the air. Run! The battle formation was broken, and it was even more impossible to resist the divine dragon army. People were constantly killed, and the remaining people were scared out of their wits and fled frantically. Damn it, kill! A loud roar came from Luo Xueqi Kingdom. An armored general rushed out, giving off a shocking aura. This person was an eminent saint stage powerhouse. Luo Xueqi country was much stronger than Mingyan country. They had many supreme saints, unlike Mingyan country, which only had the imperial advisor. I'll play with you. Lu Ming took a step forward and waved his hand. A huge palm was formed and pressed down on the other party. All not good. The other party was so frightened that his soul flew away. He wanted to escape, but he was directly hit by a palm, and his body was torn into pieces. Within the army, Ruan Tianjiao was secretly shocked. Lu Ming was simply unfathomable. He could kill a great saint with a lift of his hand. What level was Lu Ming at? Great sage perfection? Or an absolute saint? Ruan Tianjiao was extremely curious, but then he shook his head. How could such a young absolute saint be possible? She estimated that Lu Ming's cultivation base was at the peak of the Great Saint realm or the Great Saint Perfection realm. This was already very shocking. There was no longer any suspense in this battle. The army of the Luo Xueqi kingdom was defeated like a landslide. Almost all of the soldiers were wiped out. The remaining people either surrendered or fled. The few huge warships also belonged to the Mingyan kingdom. The divine dragon army had defeated the Luo Xueqi kingdom. When the news spread, the entire country celebrated. Ruan Tianjiao's reputation had also reached its peak. Taking this opportunity, Ruan Tianjiao ascended the throne and became the only empress of Mingyan country in so many years. In the days that followed, Lu Ming cultivated in peace. Time flew by and in the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. At this moment, the day of the Nine Nations Alliance had finally arrived. The Vast Sea was the name of this sea. There were 9 countries in total, called the 9 countries of the Vast Sea. The country of Mingyan and the country of Luo Xueqi were both part of the 9 countries of the Vast Sea. The purpose of this meeting was to select the people who would go to Divine Light Island. It was said that if one headed to the Divine Time Island, there was a high chance that one would be accepted as a disciple by the experts there. That would be a meteoric rise. The Divine Time Island was the most powerful force in the 10,000 Sea realm. It was a holy land of martial arts in everyone's heart. And the location of this meeting was in the capital of Blue Water Country, one of the 9 countries. The Blue Water Country was the strongest country among the 9 countries and had always been the alliance leader of the 9-country alliance. Ruan Tianjiao selected a group of strong people and headed to Blue Water Country with Lu Ming. After a dozen days, they arrived at the capital of Blue Water Country. A few days later, the 9 Nations Alliance was convened. In the square in front of the Blue Water Kingdom's imperial palace, rows of tables and chairs were arranged. The kings of the 9 nations of the Vast Sea, as well as some experts, were all seated. Blue Water Country's people sat at the head of the table, representing their status as the alliance leader. All right, this time's alliance meeting will be the same as before. It's to select the candidates to enter the Divine Time Island. Our 9 nations will only have a total of 100 slots. A deep voice came from the Blue Water Country. It was the king of Blue Water Country. He looked to be in his 50s. He was burly and full of majesty. In my opinion, there should only be 8 countries this time. The Mingyan country does not have the right to participate in this alliance meeting at all. They also do not have the right to go to the Divine Time Island. A cold voice came from the right. The one who spoke was a thin middle-aged man, the king of Luo Xueqi Kingdom. The carefully planned plan of the Luo Xueqi Kingdom for many years had been destroyed. Several supreme saints had died in a row, and their strength had weakened a lot. At this time, how could they not target the Mingyan Kingdom? My Mingyan country does not have the right to make an alliance? Do you think you have the final say? Ruan Tianjiao coldly spoke. That goes without saying. You, Ruan Tianjiao, have the ambition of a wolf. You killed the king of Mingyan and replaced him. How can such a person be qualified to participate in the alliance meeting? The king of Luo Xueqi opened his mouth coldly and continued to sneer. The 9 nations of the Vast Sea have a long history. The royal family of each nation has a noble bloodline. Who are you, Ruan Tianjiao? What right do you have to rule the Mingyan country? Hee hee, Your Luo Shui country colluded with the state preceptor of my Mingyan country and wanted to harm the former king, making the Mingyan country miserable. Later, you wanted to harm me. How can one not resist? Ruan Tianjiao sneered. Rebellion is rebellion. No matter how much you say, you can't escape the fact of rebellion. Luo Water King shouted coldly. Then, he looked at Blue Water King and said, Brother Tsong, does Ruan Tianjiao from Mingyan country have the right to participate in the alliance meeting? Do one have the qualifications to head to the Divine Time Island? The king of Blue Water Country remained calm and said, The Divine Time Island is a sacred place. Traders truly do not have the right to go there. Everyone from the Mingyan country, please return. The Blue Water Country ruler's words clearly showed that he was on the side of the Luo Shui kingdom. This made Ruan Tianjiao's face turn ugly. As for the people from the other countries, they were all gloating. With the departure of Mingyan country, they would have one less competitor, so they were naturally happy to see that. Hee hee, what a joke. At this moment, Lu Ming smiled faintly and his disdainful voice spread throughout the entire venue. Who do you think you are? When did it become your turn to interrupt when the country rulers are talking? The king of Luo Shui cast a glance at Lu Ming and chided him. However, Lu Ming did not even bother to look at the Luo Shui kingdom monarch. He treated him as heir. What's so funny? The king of Vast Water Country looked at Lu Ming and asked coldly. Speaking of rebellion, which of the founding fathers of the 9 nations are not traitors? If they had not rebelled, how could the 9 nations exist today? Lu Ming said indifferently. Tens of thousands of years ago, there were no 9 nations in the Songhai Ocean. There was only one nation, and that was the Songhai nation. At that time, the vast sea kingdom ruled the current territory of the 9 nations. Later on, the ancestors of the 9 nations betrayed the vast sea kingdom and destroyed it, leading to the current vast sea 9 nations. It could be said that the ancestors of the 9 nations were all traitors. How audacious! Impudent, you're looking for death. Those who insult our ancestors will be killed without mercy. One by one, the country rulers roared and their powerful auras enveloped Lu Ming. You are all traitors. What right do you have to speak of the fire country? If the Mingyan country is not qualified, then all of you are not qualified. Lu Ming was still calm and his voice was filled with contempt. You're looking for death. From the Zongshui kingdom side, an old man flew out, his cold killing intent undisguisable. A terrifying sword light bloomed from his hand, heading towards Lu Ming. This person had the cultivation of a great circle bright saint. Get lost! Lu Ming shouted loudly. The other party's sword gleam collapsed. His body trembled violently and he flew back at a speed faster than when he came. He spat out large mouthfuls of blood. The eyes of the kings of the various countries and the other experts all narrowed, revealing a trace of seriousness. A loud shout had injured a great circle bright saint. Could it be that this person had the cultivation of a great saint at such a young age? Follow current novels on Top Novel Full. CM. Chapter 1946. Chapter 1946 awe-inspiring in particular, the king of Luo Shui was shocked. Could it be that the continuous deaths of several people in Luo Shui kingdom were caused by this person? For a moment, all the powerhouses seemed to have forgotten to speak. Lu Ming stood up and looked around. His eyes were as bright as the stars. I'm too lazy to talk nonsense with you. Take a blood oath. From today on, the country of Mingyan will be the leader of the 9 nations of the vast sea. Ruan Tianjiao will be the leader. This time, the quota for the Divine Time Island will be decided by the Mingyan country. After the incident with the state preceptor, Lu Ming understood that there was no need to listen to these people's nonsense. It was a waste of time to waste time talking to them. It was better to use force to intimidate them. What? After Lu Ming finished speaking, the people from the other 8 nations were stunned. They looked at Lu Ming in a daze, as if they were looking at a fool. If he wasn't a fool, what was he? He wanted them to take a blood oath and make the country of Mingyan the alliance leader. He also wanted the country of Mingyan to arrange the spots for the Divine Light and Divine Island? This was simply ridiculous, a big joke. Did Lu Ming really think that he was invincible just because he could injure a perfected bright saint with a single shout? It was simply laughable. Especially the people from Blue Water Country. Their faces were particularly gloomy. The leader of the alliance of the 9 countries had always been the Blue Water Country. What did the Mingyan country mean? He even wanted to usurp the position of the alliance master of the 9 nations? He didn't know what was good for him. In my opinion, this kid is completely crazy. He's talking nonsense here. Mingyan country is beyond saving. Why don't we directly send experts to destroy Mingyan country and support another person to rule Mingyan country? The king of Luoshui kingdom said coldly. So much nonsense. Since this is the case, I hereby announce that the Luoshui kingdom is eliminated. They are no longer qualified to join the Nine Nations Alliance and are no longer qualified to set foot on the Divine Time Island. Get lost. Lu Ming glanced at the kingdom of Luoshui and said coldly. Once again, everyone looked at Lu Ming as if he was an idiot. This was especially true for the people of Luoshui. You're not leaving, right? If you're not leaving, then clean it up. Lu Ming said coldly. As soon as he finished speaking, he took a step in the direction of Luoshui kingdom. Arrogant. Kill him. The king of Luoshui kingdom shouted coldly. A few experts immediately charged out from behind him. 2 great sages in the lower tier and 3 in the great circle of the Bright Saint realm were the only top masters left in the Luoshui kingdom. The 5 experts joined forces and their aura was shocking. They wanted to kill Lu Ming in one fell swoop. That brat is dead. A king of a certain country had a sneer on his face, but the next moment, the sneer on his face disappeared and was replaced with shock, extreme shock. Lu Ming threw a punch, and the void trembled violently. The air was compressed together and then exploded, forming a terrifying fist force. As the fist force crushed over, the 5 powerhouses of the Luoshui kingdom were directly blown apart, leaving no bones behind. Hiss hiss hiss. Gasps of shock could be heard as everyone's expression froze. No, after a long time, the king of Luoshui kingdom let out a miserable scream. These 5 people were the 5 strongest people in the Luoshui kingdom. With their death, the strength of the Luoshui kingdom would weaken sharply and become the weakest kingdom among the 9 kingdoms. Sooner or later, it would be swallowed up by other kingdoms. His heart ached so much that it was about to bleed. However, when he saw Lu Ming continue to walk toward him, he was frightened and shouted, "Brother Tsong, save me. This man is lawless. We must get rid of him." "Stop!" Blue Water Country ruler roared. However, Lu Ming did not seem to hear him. He took a step forward and appeared beside the king of Luoshui kingdom. The king of Luoshui kingdom wanted to escape, but Lu Ming took a step forward. The king of Luoshui screamed in pain as Lu Ming stepped on his face heavily. He spat out a large mouthful of blood and his body twitched non-stop. Impudent! Kill him! The king of Vast Water Country was furious. He had already told Lu Ming to stop, but Lu Ming did not even bother with him. Kill! Kill! 2 loud shouts came from Blue Water Country as 2 figures stepped out, and a terrifying aura bloomed in the void. Great Saint Peak! Great Saint Perfection! Someone exclaimed in shock. The people from the other countries were secretly trembling. Blue Water Country was indeed the leader of the 9 countries. For tens of thousands of years, they had been sitting on the throne of the 9 countries. Their strength was amazing. They were great saints in the great mastery and peak of the great saint realm. Such an expert could destroy a small country by himself. Yuan Tianjiao and the other people from Mingyan country couldn't help but feel nervous. Although Lu Ming was powerful, he was no match for a great saint at the peak. But in the face of such an expert, they were powerless to help and could only watch. The 2 Blue Water Country experts were approaching Lu Ming rapidly. "Let go of King of Luoshui, die!" The great Saint Peak shouted and pointed his finger in the air. A terrifying finger force pierced through Lu Ming's forehead. "You're seeking your own death," Lu Ming said coldly and then threw another punch. This punch was even more terrifying than the previous one. The void trembled and crushed over. The body of the great sage peak expert exploded directly. Even the great sage great mastery behind him was crushed into pieces. At this moment, everyone present was trembling in their hearts and bodies. They were trembling uncontrollably. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Lu Ming, unable to move an inch. One punch after another, the great Saint Peak was crushed into pieces, just like the great Saint initial mastery. It was as if in Lu Ming's hands, there was no difference in the cultivation of those people. Strong, too strong. Lu Ming is too strong. Beside Yuan Tianjiao, the voices of a few of his subordinates trembled. It was unknown if they were excited or excited. "Lu Ming, what is your limit?" Yuan Tianjiao's voice was trembling. The longer she spent time with Lu Ming, the more she realized that Lu Ming was unfathomable. It was as if Lu Ming's combat power was limitless. From the moment he knew Lu Ming, no matter what kind of opponent he faced, Lu Ming was always calm and composed. He did not even need to use a second move to kill his opponent. The king of Luoshui Kingdom trembled under Lu Ming's feet and broke out in a cold sweat. At this moment, he was almost scared to death. What kind of terrifying monster was this? There was no way to resist it. I surrender. I swear to follow the Mingyan country for the rest of my life, and regard the Mingyan country as the alliance leader. The monarch of the fallen nations shouted, afraid that Lu Ming would stomp him to death. Lu Ming did not even look at him. He looked at the Blue Water Country and said, it seems that Blue Water Country also wants to be eliminated. Then I'll fulfill your wish. Then, he stepped out and headed toward Blue Water Country. Song Water Country ruler's face turned pale. A peak great saint was the most powerful person in Blue Water Country, but in front of Lu Ming, he was killed in an instant. Lu Ming, it's better to quit while you're ahead. Otherwise, it won't be good for both of us. The king of Vast Water Country said, oh really? I'm a little curious. How can you not give me any benefits? There was a faint smile on Lu Ming's face as he continued to walk forward. Blue Water Country ruler's expression changed. Then, he suddenly stood up and cupped his hands to the two old men behind him. Two seniors, please kill this man. Blue Water Country will reward you handsomely. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. CM. Chapter 1947. Chapter 1947. Bootlicking. Blue Water Country ruler bowed to the two old men sitting behind him. His attitude was so respectful that it was shocking. Blue Water Country was ranked first in the vast C9 nations, and was also the most powerful person in the vast C9 nations. Who could make him lower his stance so low? Everyone's eyes fell on the two old men, but the two old men's faces were very ugly. A faint smile hung on Lu Ming's face. He looked at the two elders and said, are you sure you want to make a move? The two elders forced a smile and stood up to cup their fists at Lu Ming. One of them said, young Master Lu, you must be joking. We wouldn't dare to fight you. That's right. These two elders were also outsiders. When they first entered, they appeared on the same island as Lu Ming. They had seen Lu Ming kill the emperor-to-be of the Golden Crow clan with their own eyes. They were only at the perfected absolute saint realm. How would they dare to fight Lu Ming? They were just courting death. The two old men's attitude made the Blue Water Country ruler's body freeze as he looked at the two old men in disbelief. These two old men had appeared in Blue Water Country some time ago, and the strength they had displayed was simply world-shaking and unfathomable. He was shocked and regarded them as supreme powers. However, such a person was trembling in fear in front of Lu Ming. How was this possible? Who was that young man? Blue Water Country ruler's heart continued to sink. You guys also want to go to the Time God Mountain, right? Lu Ming continued and the two elders nodded. Very good. Now all of you attack and kill them. I'll give you 2 spots. Lu Ming said coldly, pointing at the Blue Water Country ruler and the group of experts. Blue Water Country ruler's expression changed as he shouted, Senior, don't. Kill. Kill. The two old men looked at each other, then burst out and attacked the Blue Water King and the others. In the face of an absolute saint in the Great Circle, the Blue Water Country ruler and the other experts could not resist at all and were killed immediately. Even the great saints were the same. They had no power to resist. In an instant, the Blue Water Country ruler and all the experts were killed. The ones with weaker cultivation were left trembling, their faces pale. So strong. At the scene, the people from the other countries looked at the two old men in shock. The cultivation of the two elders was unfathomable. There were many great saints in Blue Water Country, but they were all killed by the two elders in an instant. However, such an expert was very respectful in front of Lu Ming, and addressed him as young Master Lu. Many people's hearts trembled, and they began to sweat. In particular, the other 7 nations were secretly glad that they did not offend Lu Ming just now. Otherwise, they would be in deep trouble. At this moment, the monarch of the fallen nations was trembling all over and his face was pale. He was afraid that Lu Ming would lull him with a wave of his hand. Ruan Tianjiao and the people from Mingyan country were also shocked. What was Lu Ming's identity? Even 2 powerful elders were so respectful to him. Lu Ming was becoming more and more mysterious in their eyes. I just said that the Mingyan country will be the leader of the 9 countries. The Divine Time Islands quota will be decided by the Mingyan country. Do you have any objections? Lu Ming said calmly, his gaze sweeping across the entire scene. One have no objections, not at all. Young Master Lu is unparalleled in the world. He rules over the 9 nations. If anyone has any objections, 111 be the first one to kill them. The king of Luo Shui Kingdom finally seized the opportunity and was the first one to shout and flatter Lu Ming. Many people secretly cursed the Luo Shui king for being shameless. Previously, he had ridiculed Lu Ming as a fool and wondered if he was crazy. Now, he immediately elevated Lu Ming to the sky. No objections. Blue Water Country thinks they have some strength and is overbearing. They should have given up the position of alliance leader long ago. That's right. It's just right for the Mingyan country to be the alliance leader. The spots for the Divine Time Island will also be decided by the Mingyan country. The rulers of the other 7 kingdoms also began to speak up and flatter him. What a joke. Lu Ming was so capable. They did not dare to disagree. In the world of martial Dao, no matter where one was, there was a rule that followed. The weak were prey to the strong. Only strength was the truth. Take a blood oath. Otherwise, when one leave, who knows if you will attack the Mingyan country? Lu Ming said indifferently. I don't dare. Whoever dares to attack Mingyan country, 111 fight them to the death. Those country rulers all expressed their position, and then took a blood oath to wholeheartedly support the Mingyan country as the alliance leader. They would not have any second thoughts. At this moment, their lives were more important, so they didn't dare to have any objections. Just like that, Yuan Tianjiao sat on the throne of the alliance leader of the 9 nations. During this period of time, she felt like she was in a dream. First, he sat on the throne of Mingyan country, and then he sat on the throne of the alliance of 9 countries. If he had not experienced it himself, how could he believe it? Lu Ming, who are you? Yuan Tianjiao muttered. She sighed in her heart. That day, she had relied on her intuition to keep Lu Ming by her side. It was the best decision she had ever made in her life. It was also the most important decision. Otherwise, she would have been killed by the state preceptor. What happened next was simple. Yuan Tianjiao sat on the alliance leader's throne and chose a prince with a weaker cultivation in Blue Water Country to help him sit on the throne. This person naturally listened to Yuan Tianjiao's orders. He then began to select the candidates for the Divine Time Island. After everything was over, they settled down in the Blue Water Nation and waited for the arrival of the emissaries from the Time God Island. In a huge courtyard, Lu Ming and Yuan Tianjiao were drinking. Heavenly Flood Dragon, your spiritual body should be a low-grade heavenly spiritual body, right? Lu Ming said. Yes, I am. Yuan Tianjiao nodded. Yuan Tianjiao's spiritual body was extremely rare in the vast C9 nations. Otherwise, he would not have been able to cultivate to the great circle of the Bright Saint stage at such a young age and be known as the war goddess of the Bright Flame country. I have a treasure that can allow your spirit body to evolve. However, how much you can gain will depend on you. Lu Ming said. He planned to use the Da Yen pill furnace to help Yuan Tianjiao temper his spirit body. Knowing each other was fate. He wanted to help Yuan Tianjiao increase his strength as much as possible. Otherwise, when he left, Yuan Tianjiao's strength would not be enough to intimidate the experts from other countries. It can evolve spirit bodies? Yuan Tianjiao revealed a shocked expression. There was actually such a treasure in the world. Lu Ming smiled and waved his hand. The Dian elixir furnace appeared and fell to the ground. The process of tempering with pill fire will be very painful. If you can't help it, tell me. Lu Ming said. So what if it's painful? Yuan Tianjiao smiled and entered the Dian elixir furnace. Lu Ming waved his hand and threw in a large amount of sacred medicine, helping Yuan Tianjiao to temper his spiritual body. Yuan Tianjiao's willpower was very strong. Every time, he persevered to the end. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. Yuan Tianjiao's spiritual body had successfully evolved into a medium-grade heaven spiritual body. Due to the evolution of her spiritual body, her cultivation had also broken through to the Supreme Saint realm. Follow current novels on Top Novel Full. CM. Chapter 1948. Coming to the Divine Time Island after Yuan Tianjiao broke through, Lu Ming took out 2 absolute saint weapons and gave them to him. Lu Ming was only at ease after that. With Yuan Tianjiao's current cultivation of Great Saint lower tier, coupled with a medium heavenly spiritual body and an absolute saint weapon, it was enough to compete with a Great Saint peak. In the vast C9 nations, There was no opponent. It was enough to deter other countries and secure the throne of the alliance leader. Half a month later, a warship came through the air and stopped above Blue Water Country's capital. The emissary from the Divine Time Island had arrived. The 100 people heading to the Divine Time Island were all prepared. Most of them were young people. That was because it was said that if one headed to the Divine Light Divine Island, one would be able to receive guidance from a powerful existence on the Divine Time Island. If one was lucky, one might even be taken in as a disciple by an expert of the Divine Time Island and cultivate there. Ruan Tianjiao was also on the list. She was a rare heavens chosen. Naturally, she wouldn't want to miss out on the opportunity to head to the Divine Time Island. Everyone boarded the warship. Then, the warship soared into the sky and disappeared from the sea of the vast sea 9 nations. The speed of the battleship was astonishing, and it streaked through the air like a streak of light. He stood on the warship and looked down at the vast sea below. In an instant, he had left. This time, they flew for more than 10 days before the warship suddenly slowed down. We're about to reach the Divine Time Island. The emissary from the Divine Time Island spoke. We're almost there? Everyone was stunned because when they looked around, there was no sign of an island. As far as the eye could see, there was only the boundless ocean and no island at all. Buzz! At this moment, the warship trembled slightly, as if it had passed through some barrier. The next moment, everyone's eyes widened in surprise. A huge island had appeared in the air in front of them. This island was actually floating in the air. On a floating island. So there's a formation. Lu Ming smiled faintly. There was a powerful array set up in this sea region. Without special means, one would not be able to enter at all. Neither would one be able to see the Divine Time Island. No wonder there were rumors that without the guidance of the emissaries of the Divine Time Island, no one would be able to find the location of the Divine Time Island. The warship flew into the Divine Time Island and stopped at an empty space. Everyone disembarked. Come with me. I'll bring you to your living quarters. In a few days, there will be experts from the Divine Island to test you. After the messenger finished speaking, he flew forward. The group followed, and not long after, they arrived at a place filled with palaces. At a glance, it was a huge palace. Each palace was separated by a distance and looked quite luxurious. Every palace here has a marked name. All of you from the 9 nations of the vast sea live in a palace. Go and find it yourself. The messenger left these words and soared into the sky, leaving this place. Everyone descended and began to search the various palaces. The 6 kingdoms of the Quan Ocean. The 3 countries of the Ing Sea. Xianling Kingdom. They saw different signs outside the different palaces. Not long after, they arrived at a palace. The words on the door of the palace read, "The vast sea 9 nations." They had arrived at their palace. However, the palace's door was open, which made them slightly stunned. Logically speaking, they had not moved in yet, so the door should be closed. Everyone's heart flashed with curiosity, and then they walked in. As soon as they entered, they saw a few figures sitting in the courtyard and drinking tea. When they saw Lu Ming and the rest enter, they looked at them with lightning-like eyes. "This place is already our residence. You guys should get lost." A tall young man waved his hand casually, as if he was chasing away a group of country bumpkins. His tone made the people of the vast sea 9 nations look a little unhappy. "Everyone, it's clearly written here that this is the palace of the vast sea 9 nations. Are you in the wrong place?" Ruan Tianjiao cupped his fists. "Do you think I'm blind? Of course I know that this is the palace of the 9 nations of the vast sea, but now it belongs to our Xianling kingdom. We have many people, and the original palace can't accommodate all of us. As for you, you can find a place to live in the wilderness," the tall young man said casually. The faces of Ruan Tianjiao and the others turned ugly. However, at the same time, they were also shocked. Xianling Kingdom was a kingdom that was extremely powerful and ruled a vast territory. Even if the 9 nations of the vast sea were to join forces, they would still be far inferior. "Everyone, this is the palace that the Divine Time Island has given to us, the vast sea 9 nations. It's not very good for you to occupy it like this. If we report this to the Divine Time Island, even the mysterious Spirit Kingdom will not be able to explain it," Ruan Tianjiao said with a dark expression. "Are you threatening me?" The eyes of the tall youth flashed with sharpness as he stared at Ruan Tianjiao. "I wouldn't dare," Yuan Tianjiao said. "If you don't dare, then get lost," the tall youth berated. Then we can only look for the emissaries of the temporal island. Yuan Tianjiao said coldly and was about to turn around and leave. Impudent! The tall young man shouted and suddenly stood up. A powerful aura spread out and he scolded. You really don't want the face one gave you. You're just a piece of trash in the vast C9 nations, and you dare to threaten me. With every sentence he spoke, the tall young man took a step forward. His aura became stronger and stronger, causing many people from the vast C9 nations to have ugly expressions. The Great Saint Realm. The tall young man looked so young, but he had already reached the cultivation of the Great Saint Realm. It was truly shocking. As expected of the Xianling Kingdom. The tall youth's eyes were indifferent and aloof as he glanced at Yuan Tianjiao. You're a pretty woman. I'll give you a chance. Kneel down and admit your mistake. Serve me for a few days, and I'll let this matter go. Damn it! A young man from Myriad country was furious. The other party was clearly the one who occupied their residence. Yuan Tianjiao merely said that he wanted to find an emissary from the Time God Palace, yet the other party was already overbearing, actually wanting Yuan Tianjiao to kneel and apologize, as well as serve him for a few days. What did they do wrong? It was clearly the other party's fault. What did you just say? You're looking for death. The tall young man's eyes were like knives as he looked at the young man from Myriad country. Then, he took a step forward and pounced toward the young man from Myriad country like lightning. A terrifying knife light slashed toward the young man. This was a sure kill technique. If it hit, death was certain. The tall young man was too overbearing. He wanted to kill someone just because of a word of disagreement. At this time, Yuan Tianjiao's figure moved, and the sword light in his hand bloomed, slashing at the tall youth's saber light. Clang! The blade and sword collided. The tall youth's body trembled and he retreated a few steps. Yuan Tianjiao had blocked his attack. How dare you fight back? I'll kill you first. Die! The tall youth shouted coldly, and an astonishing attack erupted as he charged towards Yuan Tianjiao. In an instant, he slashed out hundreds of blades, and heavy blade rays enveloped Yuan Tianjiao. However, Yuan Tianjiao's expression was calm, and a dragon's roar came from his body. The battle sword in his hand slashed out, and a sword light turned into a huge dragon shadow. The dragon shadow pounced forward and all the blade lights were shattered. The tall young man's body was forced back a dozen steps and a trace of blood spilled from his mouth. Follow current novels on Top Novel Full. CM. Chapter 1949. Chapter 1949. Blown up in just one move, the tall young man was at a disadvantage and spat out blood. The tall youth's cultivation was the same as Yuan Tianjiao's. They were both at the great sage lower mastery. However, the tall youth's spiritual body was only a low-tier heaven spiritual body, while Yuan Tianjiao's spiritual body was a medium-tier heaven spiritual body. The other party was naturally no match for him. You're looking for death. The tall young man roared. His eyes filled with killing intent. An ant from the vast C9 nations had actually injured him. This was unforgivable. Before this, he was still acting high and mighty, looking down on the people of the vast sea and the 9 nations. But now, he was injured by Yuan Tianjiao. If he had lost at the hands of an elder, it would still be acceptable. However, Yuan Tianjiao's age looked even younger than him. This made him feel like he had lost all face. Kill! All of you will die today. The tall youth roared and once again charged at Yuan Tianjiao, but after a few moves, he was forced back by Yuan Tianjiao. How dare you hurt the heavenly beauty of our mysterious spirit kingdom? You deserve to die. On the other side, the other people who were with the tall young man also stood up with cold expressions. Buzz! And NBSP whoosh! More and more people rushed out of the palace. A few of them were elders with powerful auras. I told you to get lost. If you don't get lost, you're simply seeking your own death. One of the old men had a cold expression as he stepped towards Yuan Tianjiao. His terrifying aura pressed down on Yuan Tianjiao, forcing him to retreat. Absolute saint! Yuan Tianjiao's voice interrupted and he couldn't help but cry out. The other members of the vast C9 nations also had a drastic change in their expressions. Xianling Kingdom was so powerful that even absolute saints were here. Let me do it. Let's go, Lu Ming said. He took a step forward and appeared in front of Yuan Tianjiao, blocking his aura. At this moment, Lu Ming was rather speechless. Why was it that no matter where he went, he would always encounter such a self-proclaimed idiot? In fact, There were many people like that in this world. With a little power and status, they would look down on those of lower status and feel superior in front of them. Whenever he met someone of a higher status, he would immediately change into a humble appearance. There were too many people like this. Looking at Lu Ming's back view, Yuan Tianjiu's heart suddenly calmed down for some reason. "I'll give you one last chance, get lost," Lu Ming said calmly. "Little bastard, are you crazy? Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish first." The Absolute Saint Elder's eyes flashed coldly as he struck his palm at Lu Ming. The palm force struck down, and the space howled wildly. The people from Xianling Kingdom smiled smugly. Lu Ming would definitely die under this palm. They seemed to be able to see Lu Ming being killed. But the next moment, their smiles froze. Lu Ming stretched out his hand and grabbed the elder's palm. The elder's palm stopped in the air. The old man's expression changed to one of fear. No matter how he unleashed his holy power, Lu Ming's palm did not move an inch. How was this possible? He was an absolute saint, a high and mighty absolute saint. How old was Lu Ming? How could he have such abilities? "I gave you a chance, but you didn't cherish it. How sad," Lu Ming said coldly. His holy power burst out and he swung it. The old man's body was thrown out and smashed heavily on the floor. The ground rumbled and the floor cracked. The old man's body was embedded in the huge pit, twitching continuously. Everyone's expression froze. Even the people from the vast C9 nations knew that Lu Ming's abilities were unfathomable. However, to witness a legendary absolute saint being smashed to the ground by Lu Ming so easily, to the point that he was half dead, was still a shocking scene. In Xianling Kingdom, the tall young man's face was pale and his body was trembling. He found it hard to believe that there was such a powerful figure in the 9 nations of the vast sea, who could defeat an absolute saint with one move. Bang! Lu Ming took a step forward and landed heavily on the absolute saint elder. The terrifying power shattered the absolute saint elder's saint heart. His saint heart was broken, and his cultivation was destroyed. The absolute saint elder screamed in despair. "You're looking for death," another elder from Xianling Kingdom shouted, his voice spreading far and wide. Whoosh, whoosh. In the next moment, the sound of air being torn could be heard as many figures descended. These were the powerhouses of the mysterious spirit kingdom. They had been staying in their own palaces and not here. When they arrived and learned that Lu Ming had crippled an absolute saint, they were shocked and filled with cold killing intent. "How dare you offend our mysterious spirit kingdom? Kill!" An old woman with snow-white hair shouted. Her killing intent was like a blade. The Xianling Kingdom was one of the most powerful kingdoms in the entire 10,000 Sea realm. It was one of the few big kingdoms and could almost dominate the entire 10,000 Sea realm, except for the Time Island. Now, a mere vast C9 nations actually dared to cripple a person from Xianling Kingdom. They were simply courting death. In an instant, at least 10 ultimate saints released their auras, and a terrifying pressure pressed down on Lu Ming. The 2 old men from the vast C9 nations shook their heads speechlessly. They knew Lu Ming's strength. The mysterious spirit kingdom dared to treat Lu Ming with such an attitude. They were simply courting death. They seemed to have seen the tragic state of the mysterious spirit kingdom. Kill! The white-haired old woman made the first move. A terrifying attack blasted toward Lu Ming. At the same time, the other absolute saints also attacked. More than a dozen attacks were aimed at Lu Ming. They wanted to crush Lu Ming's bones with one attack. "You brought this upon yourself, you can't live," Lu Ming said indifferently. Then, he threw a punch. The air trembled, forming a terrifying force that destroyed the attacks of more than 10 absolute saints. How is that possible? All the experts of Xianling Kingdom were shocked. He destroyed the attacks of more than 10 absolute saints with one move. What kind of strength was this? Not good. They were shocked and felt a chill all over their bodies. They had a bad feeling. Some of them even retreated, but it was too late. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming swung his fists continuously, and streams of fist force rushed out with an unstoppable momentum, crushing those people. Bang! 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 The absolute saints didn't even have time to scream before they were blown into the air. In an instant, only the white-haired old woman was left. At this moment, the white-haired old woman was terrified and began to escape. Stop! At this moment, a loud shout came from the sky in the distance. It was filled with shock and anger. However, Lu Ming did not seem to hear it. He threw another punch. The white-haired old woman was directly blown up, her body and soul destroyed. The surroundings fell into a deathly silence. Everyone looked at Lu Ming in shock. More than 10 absolute saints had been killed in an instant. It was too terrifying. Lu Ming, what are your limits? Yuan Tianjiao seemed to be numb, only a bitter smile and endless curiosity. How audacious! An angry roar came from the sky. Then, more than 10 figures appeared. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. CM. Chapter 1950. Chapter 1950 conflict intensified. More than a dozen figures appeared. The one in the lead was a young man in golden robes. Big brother. The tall young man from Xianling Kingdom was overjoyed to see this young man. His big brother had finally arrived. His big brother had come to the God Time Island 6 years ago. With his shocking talent, he was accepted as a disciple by a saint emperor of the God Time Island. Right now, his status on the God Time Island was extraordinary. His big brother's arrival finally put him at ease. Not good. Seeing this youth, Yuan Tianjiao's expression changed drastically. Lu Ming, this person is wearing a golden robe with a river of time embroidered on the cuffs. This is the symbol of a core disciple of the Divine Time Island. Yuan Tianjiao quickly sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming. The core disciple of the Divine Time Island was the highest level of cultivation in the Divine Time Island. There were only a few of them in the entire Divine Time Island, and their status was astonishing. This young man was obviously from the mysterious spirit kingdom. This time, they were in trouble. Xian Chuan was the young man's name. At this moment, Xian Chuan was extremely angry and filled with endless killing intent. Today, he had just come out of seclusion and wanted to see the people from the mysterious spirit kingdom. His brother had come as well, but he did not expect to see Lu Ming killing the experts from the mysterious spirit kingdom the moment he arrived. Even the mysterious spirit kingdom couldn't afford to lose more than 10 absolute saints. This was definitely more than half of the experts in the mysterious spirit kingdom. Boy, I'll let you die without a burial place. And all of you from the vast C9 nations will die. Xian Chuan glared at Lu Ming coldly, wishing he could cut Lu Ming into 8 pieces. It's your people from the mysterious spirit kingdom who occupied the palace we live in. It's also your country who attacked us first. How can we not retaliate? Yuan Tianjiao called out. Shut up. Xian Chuan shouted coldly, his eyes cold. So what? Even if one occupy your palace, even if I want to kill you first, so what? You shouldn't have retaliated. If you retaliated you would have died. Xian Chuan was overbearing. They didn't care about the cause and process. He only cared about the result. In the end, the powerhouses of the mysterious spirit kingdom were killed. Lu Ming and the rest had to die. Big brother, you must take revenge for the elders. The tall young man shouted. Don't worry. Xian Chuan spoke coldly. The vast C9 nations are lawless. They openly killed experts of other countries on the temporal divine island. They are all sentenced to death. Kill without mercy. Yes. A few people walked out from behind Xian Chuan, releasing a terrifying aura. These people were all absolute saints in the Great Circle. These people were all experts from the Divine Time Island. Their faces were cold, and they didn't care about who was right or wrong. If Xian Chuan said to kill, they would kill. Xian Chuan's status on the Divine Time Island was transcendent and he was loved by many divine emperors. His words were law and reason. The faces of the vast C9 nations, including Yuan Tianjiao, were extremely ugly. The Divine Time Island was different from the other great nations. They were the #1 power in the 10,000 sea realm and had unfathomable strength. They had many sacred emperors. If they offended the Divine Time Island, the vast C9 nations would be eliminated. Lu Ming's eyebrows furrowed slightly. He himself was not afraid, but he was worried that he would implicate the 9 nations of the vast sea. Kneel down and accept your punishment. An absolute saint in the Great Circle said coldly. He slammed his palm down, and a huge palm formed and pressed down on Lu Ming. Lu Ming threw a punch and the huge palm was crushed. Xian Chuan's eyes narrowed. Lu Ming was so powerful. He could even block an absolute saint in the Great Circle. Could this person also be from beyond the heavens? Xian Chuan's heart moved. With his status, he naturally knew many things that others didn't. During this period of time, many experts from the 10,000 sea realm had suddenly descended. All of them had profound cultivation and powerful battle prowess. Many of them were actually not weaker than the sacred emperors of the Divine Time Island. He had heard from some elders that these people might have come from beyond the heavens. In the beginning, he was extremely shocked. If Lu Ming was also from beyond the heavens, things would not be easy. Xian Chuan frowned. The people of my mysterious spirit kingdom can't die in vain. Suddenly, Xian Chuan clenched his fists tightly. So what if he came from beyond the heavens? How could his Divine Time Island be afraid? Let's attack together. With a wave of his hand, the few absolute saints in the Great Circle charged toward Lu Ming again. They were all using killing moves. You're the ones who are looking for death, Lu Ming said coldly. Just now, he had already taken a step back and did not fight back. However, the other party was obviously insatiable. He understood that there was no use in backing down against such a person. Only by using iron and blood to suppress him would the other party be afraid. Bang! Lu Ming took a step forward and flew up. He threw a punch and the shadow of the prison-suppressing steel appeared, suppressing an absolute saint in the perfection. That expert's attack was instantly destroyed by the prison-suppressing steel's illusionary image. Under the suppression of the prison-suppressing steel, the man screamed in pain and his body was torn into pieces. Then, Lu Ming punched again and killed a person in the absolute saint's perfection. How is that possible? Xian Chuan roared. Lu Ming's combat strength was too terrifying. He could even kill an absolute saint in the Great Circle. The tall young man and the rest of the people from Xianling Kingdom were also pale. In their eyes, Lu Ming was simply a god of death. Send the signal. Send the signal. Gather the experts of the Divine Island. Xian Chuan retreated crazily and shouted at the same time. Kill! Lu Ming stepped into the void and charged towards Xian Chuan. Since he had made his move, he would destroy them all. Lu Ming, it's you. Kill! Right at this moment, an explosive roar rang out. Following that, a terrifying sword light came slashing over from the distance. It was extremely terrifying, as though it was going to split the entire Divine Time Island in half. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. An absolute holy weapon sword appeared in his hand and he swung it. Boom! A violent explosion, along with endless sword chi, spread out. Whoosh! In the distance, there was a flash of light and a middle-aged man appeared in the sky. Spots of light lit up on his body. Hundreds of holy weapons floated around him, and a river of laws surrounded him. The Wan family. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes slightly. It seemed that many experts who had entered the 10,000 Sea Realm had come to the Divine Time Island, just like him, to explore the Divine Time Mountain. The River of Laws, that's Saint Emperor. Heavens, the Sage Emperor has appeared. Could it be the Divine Emperor of the Divine Time Island? Cries of alarm rang out. An emperor-to-be was known as a sacred emperor in the 10,000 Sea Realm. They were the strongest experts in the realm. Because there were no martial emperors in the 10,000 Sea Realm, and immortality was only a legend. Ruan Tianjiao and the others were also extremely shocked. The sacred emperor had made his move. Could Lu Ming win? Ow! At this moment, a heaven-shaking roar was heard. In the distance, a giant wolf as large as a mountain stepped through the air. This giant wolf was also surrounded by a river of laws. Whoosh! Then on the other side, a purple light flashed, and a purple-robed elder appeared. His body was covered in purple light, and there was also a river of laws around him. Follow current novels on Top Novel Fool. Come. Chapter 1951. 9 Emperor-to-be Skywolf Tower, the Purple Extreme Sex Emperor-to-be, they're all here. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes and muttered. The 3 Emperor-to-be stood in 3 directions, surrounding Lu Ming. The people from the small countries in the 10,000 Sea Realm were all shocked. The 3 divine emperors had appeared and from the looks of it, they were all hostile towards Lu Ming. These divine emperors don't seem like the temporal island. That's right. I've never heard of a giant wolf becoming a sage emperor on the Divine Time Island. Many people were discussing in low voices. The people from the vast C9 nations turned pale. There were so many sacred emperors against Lu Ming. As for Xian Chuan, he was overjoyed and shouted, "Quickly send the signal and gather the experts of the Divine Island." Whoosh! Beside Xian Chuan, an expert waved his hand and a light pillar shot up into the sky, forming a river of time. Everyone on the entire Divine Time Island could see it. Xian Chuan's words shocked everyone. From Xian Chuan's words, these divine emperors weren't from the Time God Island. However, other than the temporal island, there were no other factions in the 10,000 sea realm that had Saint Emperors. And 3 of them had appeared all at once. Gah! Ow! At this moment, a few sharp bird calls were heard. A huge 3-legged golden crow appeared in the sky. In addition, there was a huge silver wolf, all of which were emperor-to-be. Many experts from the major forces had entered the world of the lotus flower. Naturally, there were more than 1 or 2 emperor-to-be experts. That's the 3-legged golden crow, the legendary divine beast. Someone exclaimed. In the 10,000 seas realm, the 3-legged golden crow was a legendary divine beast. It had never appeared before. Today he had actually seen one. Hee, this is Lu Ming? A cold voice came from a gust of wind. Lu Ming, you've been hiding for so long. You'll die today. Hand over the celestial emperor's sword. Another voice was heard from the other side. The Heng family. Lu Ming muttered, his eyes filled with intense killing intent. It seemed that almost all the enemies were here today. At this time, regardless of whether it was the people from the vast C9 nations, the mysterious spirit kingdom, or the other countries, they were all stunned. They all gasped in shock. 9 divine emperors. A total of 9 divine emperors surrounded Lu Ming. They were all hostile to him. Lu Ming. Quan Tianjiu's eyes were filled with deep worry. At this moment, several figures flew over from the Divine Time Island. All of them had powerful auras. The experts of the Divine Time Island had arrived. Shen Chuan, what happened? An old man asked. He looked at the quasi-sages of the Golden Crow race with a serious expression. It's this brat. He's the one who killed the people of our Divine Time Island. He's absolutely lawless. Shen Chuan pointed at Lu Ming and said coldly, You dare to kill the people of our Divine Time Island? What guts? The old man shouted coldly. He and the other 2 powerhouses stepped toward Lu Ming. The river of laws also appeared on their bodies. The Sage Emperor. Another Sage Emperor. A total of 12 sacred emperors surrounded Lu Ming. Haha, this brat actually has so many enemies. He's dead for sure. Shen Chuan laughed in his heart. As for the people from the smaller countries, their minds were in a complete mess. Everything that happened today was beyond their imagination. Other than the Divine Time Island, where did so many sage emperors come from? Lu Ming, hand over the celestial emperor's sword. The Heng family's Saint Emperor shouted coldly. If you want it, come and get it yourself. Lu Ming said coldly. The saint energy in his body circulated crazily, pushing his strength to the limit. It seemed that he had to fight a big battle today. Young Master Xing Lai once said that he would kill you with his own hands. But today I will do it. The emperor-to-be from the Heng family spoke coldly and was the first to make a move. A pale sword radiance bloomed and slashed toward Lu Ming. On Lu Ming's body, hundreds of acupuncture points lit up. Hundreds of holy weapons flew out, and the chi of combat weapons soared into the sky. Whoosh! The holy sword of supremacy flew toward the sword light of the Heng family's emperor-to-be with a single thought from Lu Ming. Clang! The sword trembled and was sent flying back, but it still managed to block the opponent's sword. Lu Ming is cunning and sinister. There's no need to play by the rules with him. Let's attack together. The emperor-to-be of the Wan family shouted and made his move. Endless chi of war weapons gathered and slashed out a vast sword light, aiming at Lu Ming's throat. This time, in the world of the lotus flower, it was a rare opportunity to lull Lu Ming. If he left the world of the lotus flower, it would be difficult to lull Lu Ming. Moreover, if they were to send out even more powerful experts, it was likely that the great Yen Elixir Palace's Uncle Kong would make a move. He had been killed while searching for treasures in the Lotus world, so Uncle Kong had nothing to say. If you want to join forces, just say it. There's no need to be so grand. Lu Ming sneered and threw a punch. A phantom of the prison-suppressing steel appeared and flew toward the emperor-to-be of the Wan family. Thump! The prison-suppressing steel trembled, and with the power to suppress the heavens, it struck the battle weapon of the quasi-emperor of the Wan clan, forcing him to retreat a few steps. Kill! A roar was heard. The 2 emperor-to-be giant wolves from the Sky Wolf Tower also made their move. They howled madly and suppressed the sky. They launched a terrifying killing force at Lu Ming. Following that, the emperor-to-be of the Golden Crow race, the emperor-to-be of the Purple Extreme sect, and the emperor-to-be of the Wind race made their moves at the same time. The 9 emperors-to-be attacked at the same time. Their auras were so powerful that it seemed like they could blow up the world. The endless pressure forced the spectators to retreat. The people from the vast C9 nations and the mysterious spirit kingdom retreated frantically. The pressure was too strong, and they were too close to it. They were afraid that they would be crushed. Is this the strength of a Saint Emperor? The moment he makes a move, he has earth-shattering power. It's too terrifying. Many people had the same thought. Then, they looked at the figure who was besieged by many emperors-to-be. Could he still block so many attacks? Good. Lu Ming let out a long howl. The space between his eyebrows glowed and the Dian elixir furnace appeared. It grew rapidly and blasted behind him. And NBSP at the same time, he used the primal chaos tribulation finger and thrust 5 fingers forward. Whoosh! Whoosh! The 5 huge fingers, like the fingers of a god, broke through the air and attacked the 5 emperor-to-be experts. Boom! Boom! With continuous rumbles, the 5 chaos fingers of tribulation exploded, but they also blocked the other party's attack. Behind him, the Dian elixir furnace had also blocked the attacks of the other 4. It trembled and flew back to Lu Ming's head. Lu Ming's body trembled and his face turned pale. He was powerful and could defeat or even kill any of the 9 emperors-to-be. However, if all 9 of them attacked him at the same time, he would not be able to do so. After all, there were 9 of them, and he was no match for them. His body trembled and his qi and blood churned. However, this scene, in the eyes of others, was nothing but shock. How is that possible? The people of Xianling Kingdom and Xianchuan widened their eyes in disbelief. Lu Ming was actually able to block the attacks of 9 Saint Emperors by himself. What kind of monster was he? Follow current novels on Top Novel Fool. Come. Chapter 1952. Bubble arrives and kills Emperor-to-be consecutively, Lu Ming. Ruan Tianjiao and the rest of the people from Mingyan country could not help but clench their fists. They did not know why, but they suddenly felt proud of Lu Ming. Even they did not know why. It might be related to Lu Ming representing the Mingyan country this time? In their past memories, the Divine Emperor was a lofty figure who looked down on the world. He was a top expert in the 10,000 sea realm. But now, Lu Ming could fight against 9 people at once. It was too shocking. Is this the son of chaos? His combat strength is truly heaven-defying. Not only were there people from the 10,000 sea realm, but there were also people from the outside world. There were many of them who were attracted by the commotion and came to watch. Someone sighed. Not only the spectators, but even the emperor-to-be from the Heng family and the others were shocked. Lu Ming could actually block them. Kill! The emperor-to-be from the Heng family shouted and was the first to make a move again. He cast a magical technique and charged at Lu Ming. Then, the other emperors-to-be also attacked. Then I'll kill you first. Lu Ming's eyes were cold as he stared at the quasi-emperor of the Wan family and charged at him. At the same time, Lu Ming waved his hand and 9 huge prison-suppressing steels appeared. They pressed down on the others while Lu Ming continued to charge at the emperor-to-be of the Heng family. Primal Chaos Tribulation Finger. Lu Ming attacked with all his might and launched a Chaos Finger of Tribulation. The Primal Chaos Finger of Tribulation destroyed the attack of the Heng family's emperor-to-be, and forced him to retreat rapidly with blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. The other 8 people's attacks collided with the prison-suppressing steel's shadow that Lu Ming had condensed. There was a constant rumble and the 9 prison-suppressing steel shadow was destroyed. The remaining power surged towards Lu Ming, causing his body to tremble and blood to flow from his mouth. However, Lu Ming made use of this force to charge at the emperor-to-be of the Heng family even faster. Come in! Lu Ming opened the lid of the Dian elixir furnace. A terrifying suction force erupted from the furnace and was about to suck the emperor-to-be of the Heng family in. The emperor-to-be from the Heng clan was shocked. He struggled madly and shouted, "Quickly come and help me. Don't even think about it. Kill!" The other 8 powerhouses attacked at the same time. The Sun, Gale, Giant Wolf, and the others all charged at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with madness. Block it! With a thought, hundreds of saint weapons gathered into a giant shield and blocked behind him. Then, he pointed at the emperor-to-be of the Heng family. Boom! The attacks of the 8 emperors-to-be landed on the shield made up of hundreds of saint weapons. The shield exploded, and some of the bright saint weapons and great saint weapons were shattered into pieces. Only a dozen or so absolute saint weapons didn't explode. A total of 200 saint weapons had been destroyed just like that. This was a huge loss. However, it was all worth it. This had also bought Lu Ming some time. Under the primal chaos tribulation finger, the emperor-to-be of the Hang family was almost blown apart. He spat out a mouthful of blood. How could he resist the pull of the Da Yen elixir furnace? He struggled madly, but he was still swallowed by the Dian elixir furnace. Clang! After closing the furnace lid, Lu Ming started to activate the furnace fire to refine the other party. Thump! Thump! Inside the furnace, the other party was frantically attacking, wanting to rush out. However, given Lu Ming's current cultivation level, how could he, an ordinary emperor-to-be, rush out of the cauldron? Attack and save the emperor-to-be of the Hang family. The emperor-to-be of the Golden Crow race let out a long howl and charged toward Lu Ming. At the same time, the other emperor-to-be also launched an attack on Lu Ming. Lu Ming used the Dian elixir furnace to block it. Although he was at a disadvantage, the other party could not seriously injure him in a short period of time. Saint Emperor, this person is lawless. If you attack now, you can kill him. Xian Chuan sent a message to the 3 sacred emperors of the Divine Time Island. The 3 emperors-to-be from the Divine Time Island looked at each other and saw the killing intent in each other's eyes. Lu Ming had to pay the price for killing several experts on the Divine Time Island. Otherwise, where would the dignity of the Divine Time Island be? The 3 of them nodded and stepped forward at the same time, their bodies exuding a mysterious aura. Everyone was shocked. The sacred emperor of the Divine Time Island was about to make his move as well. Lu Ming. Ruan Tianjiao was extremely worried. Previously, Lu Ming was clearly at a disadvantage. If the 3 quasi-emperors of the Divine Time Island were added to the mix, Lu Ming would be even more disadvantaged. Boom! 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 The 3 emperors-to-be from the Divine Time Island did not hesitate and attacked at the same time. 3 terrifying divine lights shot toward Lu Ming, and there was actually a trace of time power in them. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed and he was ready to resist with all his might. However, at this moment, the space around them started to ripple. A huge transparent bubble appeared and enveloped the 3 emperors-to-be from the Divine Time Island. Bubbles! Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Bubbles had entered the Myriad Sea realm with him. To his surprise, he had also arrived at the Divine Time Island. Bubbles appeared beside Lu Ming and he muttered, "So many of you are fighting brother Lu Ming. I'll fight you too, Chirpy." Bubbles continued to form as she mumbled to herself. With a wave of her hand, more transparent bubbles were formed and enveloped the quasi-emperors of the Golden Crow race and the Wan clan. Kill! Lu Ming took the opportunity to attack the emperor-to-be of the Wan family. He had just lost so many saint weapons, so he might as well get them back from this quasi-emperor of the Wan clan. And NBSP, the enemy, was covered by the space-time law and was struggling madly, trying to break it. However, with Bubbles' current realm and space-time law, how could it be so easy to break? Lu Ming picked up the Dian elixir furnace and smashed it at the other party's face. Thump! The Dian elixir furnace smashed onto the quasi-emperor of the Wan family's head. The quasi-emperor's head was almost split open. He was completely dazed. Slash! Lu Ming grabbed an absolute holy weapon saber beside him and slashed down. The emperor-to-be of the Wan clan was split into 2. An emperor-to-be had fallen. Heavens! The spectators from the 10,000 Sea realm were all shocked. This was a figure equivalent to a sage emperor, yet he had been killed just like that. The sacred emperor was at the peak of the 10,000 Sea realm. It was synonymous with invincibility. It turned out that even an invincible sacred emperor could die. Many people sighed. In addition to the one inside the Dian elixir furnace that was already silent, there were already 2. 2 of the saint emperors had been killed by Lu Ming. Who was this young man? Thoughts ran through the minds of the 10,000 Sea realm warriors. At this time, the others had already broken through the space-time law and gathered together, their eyes extremely solemn. Space-time law, it's the space-time law. The sacred emperor of the Divine Time Island cried out in excitement. Their nomological laws also contained a trace of time power. However, compared to Bubbles, they were still far from it. If you want to kill me, then kill to your heart's content today. Lu Ming's killing intent grew stronger. He stepped on the air and headed for the remaining emperor-to-be. Since they wanted to kill him, he would slaughter them all. The remaining emperors-to-be looked solemn. Lu Ming's combat strength was already terrifying enough. In addition to Bubbles, who had mastered the space-time law, their combat strength was amazing. Chapter 1953. The Divine Tree of Time. If it was a head-on clash, they wouldn't be afraid. The key was that the space-time laws were too profound and too useful in trapping enemies. The space-time law trapped the enemy while Lu Ming was the main attacker. When they worked together, their destructive power was shocking. At this moment, a few more people stepped into the air from the distance, their bodies surrounded by the river of laws. Another emperor-to-be from the temporal divine island had arrived. He had gathered with the previous 3 emperors-to-be, and a powerful aura was pressing down on Lu Ming. A great battle was about to start. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in the sky. This figure was enveloped by a mysterious power. The area was completely distorted, as if time and space were changing. He could only vaguely see that it was a black-robed old man. When the emperor-to-be experts of the Divine Time Island saw this old man, they bowed and greeted. "We pay our respects to the Sage Master. We pay our respects to the Sage Master." The expressions of the other cultivators from the Divine Time Island also changed as they bowed. The Sage Master? Lu Ming squinted his eyes slightly. It seemed that this Sage Master had a very high status. Even the quasi-emperors on the Divine Time Island were very respectful to him. The Sage Master nodded slightly and looked at Lu Ming with a kind smile. He then looked at the other emperors-to-be and said, "Everyone here is a powerful existence. If we fight here, the Divine Time Island will be greatly damaged. Can you give this old man some face and temporarily stop the battle?" Lu Ming smiled faintly and did not say anything. The eyes of the emperors-to-be of the other forces flickered, but they didn't speak. Now that Lu Ming and Dandan's combat strength had skyrocketed, they were not confident even though they had the advantage in numbers. If the people from the Divine Time Island were to withdraw, they would be even more uncertain. Reporting to the Sacred Master, "This man has killed several elders of my Divine Time Island. You cannot let him off." Xian Chuan was still unwilling to give up. He reported to the Sage Master that he wanted to borrow the power of the Divine Time Island to kill Lu Ming. "Are you teaching me how to do things?" The Sage Master looked at Xian Chuan and his voice turned cold. Xian Chuan's face changed drastically. He knelt down immediately and shouted with a pale face, "I don't dare, this disciple doesn't dare. Please forgive me, Sage Master." The Sage Master ignored Xian Chuan and continued to look at Lu Ming and the rest. "You're from beyond the heavens and have come to the 10,000 Sea Realm. You must be here for the Immortal Relic and the Time God Mountain. If you stop fighting, I'll take you there." The Sage Master's words stunned the people of 10,000 Sea Realm. Beyond the heavens. These experts actually came from beyond the heavens. Many people in the 10,000 Sea Realm knew that it was connected to the other 8 realms. They could communicate, but only Saint Emperors could. And beyond the 9 worlds, there were even larger worlds. Legend had it that the world beyond the heavens was vast and boundless. Martial arts had developed to the extreme, and there were even immortal existences. However, all of this was just a legend. No one had ever confirmed it. Now, the Sage Master actually said that these people came from beyond the heavens. Perhaps it was true. Otherwise, why would so many experts suddenly appear on the Divine Time Island? Beyond the heavens, beyond the heavens. So Lu Ming came from beyond the heavens. That's right, only beyond the heavens can give birth to a prodigy like Lu Ming. While Yuan Tianjiao was shocked, all sorts of thoughts ran through his mind. The people of the vast C9 nations and the Xianling kingdom were also dumbfounded. "Lu Ming, for the sake of the Sage Master, I'll spare your life today," one of the giant wolves from the Sky Wolf Tower said. "Spare my life? Hee, come on, let's continue the battle and see if you can take my life." Lu Ming's eyes were filled with killing intent as he glared at the giant wolf from the Sky Wolf Tower. This made the giant wolf of the Sky Wolf Tower look unsightly. He was only trying to win with his words. If they really had to fight, they had no confidence. The Sage Master smiled bitterly. "Little brother, why don't we let it go for now? After you go to the Time God Mountain and leave the Time God Island, one won't interfere no matter how you guys want to fight. That's to give face to the Sage Master and spare their dog lives first." Lu Ming smiled faintly. If they were to truly fight, he might not be afraid. However, with the addition of the people from the Divine Time Island, he might not be able to gain an advantage. More importantly, the Sage Master gave him a profound feeling. The Sky Wolf Tower's giant wolves and the others had ugly expressions, but they didn't refute. "Okay, thank you for giving me face, little brother. The people of 10,000 Sea Realm can stay here for the time being. No one is allowed to attack. Anyone who violates this rule will be killed without mercy," the Sage Master said, his voice turning cold. The people from Xianling Kingdom had ugly expressions, but they didn't dare to refute the Sage Master's words. So many of their people had died in vain, and they could only admit that they were unlucky. Friends from beyond the heavens, if you want to explore the Time God Mountain, then come with me. The Sage Master's voice reverberated in all directions as he flew into the depths of the Divine Time Island. Lu Ming smiled and followed the Sage Master. The giant wolf from the Sirius Tower, the Quasi-Emperor of the Golden Crow race, and the Quasi-Emperor of the Wind race followed behind him with gloomy faces. In the sky, one figure after another streaked across the void. All of them were experts from the outside world. They followed the sacred teacher and headed towards the Divine Time Island. So many people? The people of the 10,000 Sea Realm were shocked. So many people had come from beyond the sky, and they were all terrifying experts. Not long after, they arrived at the center of the Divine Time Island. Up ahead, there was a huge mountain that pierced through the clouds. This mountain looked deathly silent. At a glance, it was all bare rocks. That's... Everyone's eyes focused. They saw bones in different parts of the mountain, almost completely decayed. How could there be so many bones in this mountain? Everyone stopped in their tracks, somewhat bewildered. Everyone, this is the Time God Mountain. The entire mountain is deathly silent with only a few plants. The Sage Master introduced. Everyone observed carefully. Indeed, there were some plants on the mountain, but they were very sparse. These plants have the power of time. If a martial artist consumes them, they can increase their lifespan. The Sage Master continued. What? It can increase one's lifespan. Someone cried out in surprise, his eyes emitting a blazing flame. A martial emperor's lifespan was endless. Other than facing the great calamity of heaven and earth, they did not need to worry about their lifespan. However, those below the martial supreme realm had limited lifespans. A saint could live for more than 100,000 years, but not more than 200,000 years. The emperor-to-be was also in this range. This time, there were many ancient emperors-to-be who had come. Many of them were already at the end of their lifespans. The plants that could increase their lifespans were a fatal temptation to them. Also, there's a small tree at the peak of the Divine Time Mountain. That's the Divine Time Tree. If a martial artist swallows it, his lifespan will be doubled. The Sage Master continued. Double the lifespan. This time, most of the people revealed a fiery light of greed. Increasing one's lifespan by one-fold, what kind of concept was that? Some of the emperors-to-be were close to the end of their lifespans. However, if their lifespans were doubled, they might be able to enter the martial emperor realm and attain immortality. The fatal temptation of this matter was irresistible. Chapter 1954. Chapter 1954. Time Power. That's mine. It's mine. Immediately, some people rushed towards the Divine Light's sacred mountain. However, the few people at the front suddenly let out blood-curdling screeches. A shocking scene appeared. The few people at the front stopped in the air and let out terrified screams. Their old and shriveled bodies became even shriveled, and their essence chi seemed to have been swallowed in an instant. Then, all their hair fell off and their clothes rotted. Their bodies seemed to have turned into skeletons, and there was no longer any aura on them. The expressions of the people behind changed drastically as they retreated frantically. But after they left, they all seemed to have aged a lot. It had only been a few breaths, but all of them seemed to have aged 10,000 years. Looking ahead, the few people who were flying at the front had already turned into bones. What's going on? What was going on? My lifespan is almost exhausted. An old man whose hair was about to fall off shouted. I'm not done yet. You guys are too impatient. The Time God Mountain is filled with the power of time. Any living being that goes up there will be deprived of time. Time is flowing faster in the Time God Mountain. The Sage Master said indifferently. Time is flowing faster. Damn it! The people who were charging forward roared. They had suffered a great loss this time. As for those who were slower and didn't move forward, they were secretly glad that they were a step slower. Otherwise, the consequences would have been serious. Lu Ming, Bubbles, and some other young men did not step forward earlier. They were still young, and things like lifespan were not attractive to them. Chirp, chirp. On Lu Ming's shoulder, the bubble was chirping. Its eyes were fixed on the small tree on the Divine Time Mountain. Bubbles, is that little tree of great use to you? Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Bubbles. Yes, Chirpy. Bubbles nodded repeatedly. Lu Ming understood. Bubbles was a space-time mouse and the small tree had the power of time. It was not surprising that it would be of great use to Bubbles. But how could he get it? Lu Ming pondered secretly. Can't we go up the Time God Mountain? Someone asked in a deep voice. If he couldn't go up, then what was the point of coming here? It was better to explore other ruins as soon as possible. It's not like we can't go up at all. Follow me. The Sage Master then flew toward the side of the Time God Mountain. Not long after, the Sage Master stopped and pointed at the Time God Mountain. There's a canyon here. Every 3 months, the power of time in this canyon will drop to its lowest. At that time we can pass through this canyon. At the end of this canyon, there's an altar. As long as that altar is destroyed, the power of time in the entire Time Mountain will be greatly reduced. At that time, we'll have a chance to step onto the peak and obtain that time tree. Then why aren't the people of your divine Time Island going up? Someone raised a question and looked at the Sage Master with doubt. It was the same for the others. Some people's eyes were cold. If the Sage Master's words were false or if he was plotting something, they would be in danger. Many emperors-to-be and absolute saints had lived for a long time and were very scheming. They naturally wouldn't trust the Sage Master easily. Because we're not strong enough. The Sage Master replied. Many people's eyes flashed. They were unable to refute the Sage Master's words. The cultivation level of the 10,000 Sea Realm could not be compared to that of the Yuan continent. On the Divine Time Island, the strongest experts were all quasi-emperors. Furthermore, there weren't many of them, so it was normal for them to be unable to do so. How long more until the power of time in this canyon weakens? Someone asked. There's still half a month. The Sage Master said. All right, I'll wait here then. Someone was sitting cross-legged. A portion of the people did the same. They sat cross-legged and waited quietly. There was also a group of people looking around the Divine Light's sacred mountain. Lu Ming and Bubbles also wandered around. Bang! Suddenly, someone stepped forward toward the Time God Mountain, instantly attracting the attention of many people. It seemed like someone couldn't hold back and wanted to try it out for themselves. However, that person was very cautious. Step by step, he walked very slowly. When he stepped into a certain range, his expression changed, as if he was enveloped by a terrifying force. This man was an emperor-to-be, surrounded by the river of laws. He was covered in saint power to resist the power of time. Then, step by step, he walked towards the nearest plant. Many people's eyes lit up. The power of time of the Divine Time Mountain would become stronger the closer one was to the peak. It was not completely impossible to resist the power of time on the outside. As long as he could block it, he would be able to obtain some plants. The plants here could increase one's lifespan and were priceless. Immediately, many people stepped out and slowly walked toward the Time God Mountain. All. But not long after, someone shouted that he couldn't hold on any longer. The person's skin was slowly drying up, causing the person's expression to change, and he quickly retreated. And the first person who had tried couldn't even walk to the closest plant. He also couldn't resist the erosion of the power of time and was defeated. The same thing happened to the others. Even with their sovereign weapons, they were unable to resist and were defeated one after another. No one managed to obtain any plants. Brother Lu Ming, I want to try. Perhaps I can use the power of time to cultivate. Chirp chirp. At that moment, Bubbles spoke. All right, let's go together. Lu Ming nodded. He also wanted to test how strong the power of time in the Time Mountain was. Bang! Bang! Lu Ming took a step forward and headed toward the Divine Time Mountain. Many people's gazes turned to Lu Ming. They also wanted to see how far the Son of Chaos could go. Lu Ming walked forward step by step. When he stepped into a certain area, a mysterious force acted on his body. That was the power of time, which was extremely similar to the power of Bubbles. The power of time was extremely terrifying. It seemed to seep into Lu Ming's body and deprive him of his time and longevity. Boom! Lu Ming's aura burst out and holy power surrounded his body. The laws of chaos filled the air and blocked the power of time from the outside world. The corresponding law to the power of time was the law of time. It was an extremely powerful king path law that could not be compared to Bubbles' space-time law, and naturally it could not be compared to the chaos law. And NBSP thus, the moment the chaos laws appeared, the time energy from the outside world was blocked. Lu Ming continued to walk forward, step by step, toward a plant. He didn't walk very quickly, but each step was firm. The deeper they went, the stronger the power of time. But Lu Ming still managed to block it. Bubbles sat on Lu Ming's shoulder and seemed to be seriously sensing the power of time in the outside world. Very soon, Lu Ming was close to the first plant. As expected of the Son of Chaos, he can control the laws of chaos and even block time. Someone exclaimed. Follow current novels on Top Novel Fool. Come. Chapter 1955. Chapter 1955. Entering the mountain. Someone exclaimed in surprise. The distance that Lu Ming had covered was further than the person who had walked the furthest previously. Humph. The giant wolf from the Heavenly Wolf Tower and the quasi-emperor from the Golden Crow race snorted coldly. They were a little unhappy. Soon, Lu Ming came to the nearest plant. It was a purple grass with a purple flower on it, and it was emitting a strange power. Lu Ming was secretly amazed. Then he pulled up the purple flower by its roots and kept it in the mountain and river diagram. Many old men with snow-white hair were staring at Lu Ming with burning eyes. Treasures that could increase one's lifespan were extremely rare, and every time they appeared, their prices would skyrocket. Lu Ming continued to move forward, walking towards another plant. Not long after, Lu Ming had picked 6 plants. Lu Ming had almost plucked all the plants in the periphery. He could only pick more plants if he went deeper. Lu Ming continued to walk. However, the deeper he went, the stronger the power of time became. The laws of chaos that surrounded his body were also shaking violently. Although the law of chaos was of a higher level, Lu Ming's cultivation level was still low. Although it was higher in quality, it was lacking in quantity. When the power of time exceeded a certain range, the laws of chaos still couldn't resist it. At this moment, a transparent bubble enveloped Lu Ming. At once, Lu Ming felt that the power of time in the outside world had lightened. Bubbles had made her move. Her space-time laws included time and space, and no other law could resist the power of time. The pressure on Lu Ming was lifted. He quickened his pace and continued to move forward. Not long after, he was almost halfway up the mountain's space-time law. Good. When the Sage Master saw this, his eyes shone with a dazzling light and a deep desire. Of course, no one saw the Sage Master's eyes. A few hours later, Lu Ming had picked more than 10 plants. But halfway up the mountain, he could no longer continue. Even with the help of Bubble's space-time laws, he was unable to advance any further. And NBSP, the time energy up ahead, was simply too terrifying. If they continued forward, they definitely wouldn't be able to stop it. They had no choice but to stop. Lu Ming sat cross-legged and used the power of time to hone his chaos laws. As for Bubbles, she was also carefully sensing the time power of the outside world. Lu Ming, why aren't you coming out? Someone spoke up and stared at Lu Ming, hoping that he would come out and buy some plants that could increase one's lifespan. He seems to be cultivating. Let's wait a little longer. He'll come out sooner or later. Many people had gathered at Lu Ming's side, waiting for him to come out and trade with him. More than 10 days had passed. Lu Ming and Bubbles finally could not hold on any longer. They got up and left the Time Mountain. As soon as he stepped out, Lu Ming was surrounded by a group of old men. Lu Ming, how much are the plants in the Time God Mountain? Sell me a few. We can discuss the price. I also want a few. Name your price. The group of old men spoke one after another, their eyes burning with passion. I'm not selling. Lu Ming waved his hands. Treasures that could increase one's lifespan were few and far between. He wanted to keep them for when he returned to the Divine Wilderness continent in the future. Many people would have a use for them. His parents and some others were not talented enough and could not cultivate to the martial emperor realm. One day, their lifespans would run out and these plants would come in handy. You're not selling? Immediately, some of the old men became anxious and said, Lu Ming, you're young and talented. It's a given that you'll break through to the martial supreme realm in the future. There's no point in keeping these plants that can increase your lifespan. That's right, I want 2. How about you sell me 2? I just want 1. These old men looked at Lu Ming with burning eyes. I also need to use it, so seniors, I'm sorry, please make way. Lu Ming cupped his fists and said, Humph, Lu Ming, you have no use for it, yet you don't sell it to these seniors. You're evil. That's right. There are so many plants here. You're going too far if you want to keep all of them for yourself. There are some seniors here whose lifespans are approaching their end, and you're just going to watch them die? Not far away, the giant wolf from the Sirius Tower, the quasi-emperors of the Wind Race, and the Golden Crow Race sneered. A cold glint flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. These people were clearly trying to sow discord. As expected, some of the old men's eyes flickered with cold light. Lu Ming, give some up. It's too much to take it all for yourself. We have so many people here. If we use force, I'm afraid you won't be able to protect those plants. The giant wolf from the Sirius Tower and the emperor-to-be from the Wind Race sneered at this scene. If you don't sell, you'll have to make a move? Lu Ming's voice turned cold. The atmosphere at the scene became tense. Everyone, time's almost up. If you want to fight, then wait until we leave the Divine Time Island. The Sage Master said as he stepped forward and came to Lu Ming's side. At the same time, the experts of the Divine Time Island came to Lu Ming's side, seemingly wanting to protect him. This surprised Lu Ming. The Sage Master did not seem to want anything to happen to him. The old men's faces turned ugly. Lu Ming and Bubbles had joined forces and it was already extremely difficult to deal with them. Now that the people from the Divine Time Island had joined in, they were not confident even if they took action. Brother Lu Ming, I hope that you can sell me some plants after we leave this place. In the end, some old men chose not to attack and retreated from the encirclement. After that, other people also withdrew. In the end, the remaining few people knew that they couldn't do anything and could only helplessly walk to the side. This made the giant wolf from the Sky Wolf Tower and the emperor-to-be from the Wind Race look a little pale. He was looking forward to a conflict between Lu Ming and those old men. Lu Ming cast a cold glance at the giant wolf from the Sky Wolf Tower, the emperor-to-be from the Wind Race, and the others. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, several days had passed. Time's up. We can set off now. The Sage Master's eyes brightened as he spoke. However, for the time being, no one stepped forward, all hoping that someone else would take the lead. The Sage Master naturally knew that everyone was worried. With a wave of his hand, some of the emperors-to-be from the Divine Time Island flew up and charged into the canyon. Those people were extremely fast. They rushed into the canyon and were indeed fine. Only then did everyone relax and rush into the canyon. Lu Ming followed the crowd and rushed into the canyon. The power of time has indeed been reduced by many times. Lu Ming's heart stirred. The group was very fast, and they quickly passed through half of the canyon. However, after passing through half of it, their speed finally slowed down. Because from here on, the power of time would gradually become stronger. The group continued to move forward. After a while, some of the weaker cultivators finally couldn't hold on any longer and retreated out of the canyon. However, the power of time here was nothing to Lu Ming and Bubbles. They traveled quickly and slowly approached the end of the canyon. At the end of the canyon, there was an ancient altar. No one knew how many years it had been there for. It was ancient and weathered, and it emitted a strong time power. Follow current novels on Top Novel Fool. Come. Chapter 1956. The Great Battle in the Mountains. It's this altar. There are 3 altars in the entire Time Mountain. As long as one of them is broken, the power of time in the mountain will be greatly reduced. If all 3 altars are broken, the mountain will be free to move. The Sage Master said, his eyes revealing a trace of fiery anticipation. Bang! Bang! The group continued to move forward. In the end, including Lu Ming and Bubbles, there were more than 10 people who came to the front of the altar. The rest could not withstand the attacks and retreated. I'll blast him to pieces. A brawny man held a giant axe and swung it at the altar. Boom! The giant axe landed on the altar, causing it to shake violently. However, a terrifying time power also rushed out and hit the burly man. The burly man's body instantly shriveled up, and some white hair appeared on his black head. Damn it, my longevity! The burly man bellowed. In that instant, he felt as if he had been deprived of tens of thousands of years of life. This made him furious. This altar has such powerful time power. How do we break it? Some people glared at the Sage Master. If you want it, you have to pay a price. As long as you bombard it a little longer, you can break the altar. The Sage Master spoke. The rest of the people fell silent. If I retreat, my lifespan will be taken away. Even if I obtain a treasure that can increase my lifespan, it's useless. The gains do not make up for the losses. Some people shook their heads and retreated. The rest of the people also shook their heads. Boom! At this moment, Lu Ming made his move. Under the control of Bubble's spacetime law, he punched the altar. The altar rumbled and shook violently. A strong power of time rushed toward Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming's chaos law and the spacetime law of the bubbles successfully blocked the power of time. I blocked it. The eyes of the Sage Master and the others all lit up. Boom! Boom! Then, Lu Ming's fists continued to bombard the altar with terrifying fist forces. The altar kept shaking, and a strong power of time rushed out. An ordinary emperor-to-be wouldn't be able to resist it and would be turned into bones. However, they were blocked by Lu Ming and Bubbles. Kacha! When Lu Ming threw dozens of punches, the altar let out a cracking sound. The Sage Master's eyes bloomed with brilliant light. After a few more punches, the entire altar exploded with a boom, sending debris flying everywhere. And NBSP at this moment, the time energy of the entire mountain of time was rapidly weakening. The power of time has weakened. Those plants are mine. Many people couldn't hold back anymore and rushed toward the Time God Mountain and the plants. And NBSP, the power of time in the Time God Mountain had weakened, so many people were able to rush out far away. Lu Ming and Pow Pow moved and rushed to the top of the canyon. The others did the same and rushed to the top of the canyon one by one. Lu Ming, destroy the other two altars in the other two directions. The Sage Master's eyes glowed with a dazzling light as he stared at Lu Ming. We'll talk later. Lu Ming left these words and dashed towards the peak of the Divine Mountain. Damn it! The Sage Master bellowed in his heart. He then continued to shout, Lu Ming, the other two altars are still intact. You won't be able to reach the peak. Go and destroy the other two altars first, he ordered. However, Lu Ming could not be bothered with the Sage Master. He had a faint feeling that the Sage Master had an unspeakable motive for asking them to destroy the sacrificial altar. It was very likely that it would be disadvantageous to them. It was enough to destroy one. Lu Ming would not be so foolish to destroy the other two. Damn it, you guys go and destroy the other two. The Sage Master ordered the experts of the Divine Time Island. Those people's expressions changed, but they had to listen to the Sage Master's orders. They all rushed to the other two altars. At this moment, Lu Ming was approaching the top of the mountain. He picked the plants he encountered along the way. Oh no, Lu Ming is reaching the top of the mountain. That divine tree of time is mine. Stop him. All of a sudden, the Emperor-to-be experts also rushed to the top of the mountain. And NBSP, however, even though the time energy of the Time God Mountain had been greatly weakened, it was still very strong near the peak. The Emperor-to-be's speed became slower and slower. They could not keep up with Lu Ming's speed at all. In the end, they could not even move an inch because the power of time had exceeded the limit of their resistance. Well, stop him from below. Even if he has the divine tree of time, he'll have to come down. That's right. Well, wait for him down there. Several voices rang out in succession. It was the Wind Race's Quasi-Emperor, the Golden Crow Race's Yuandu, and the others. They also stopped near the top of the mountain. They had already reached their limits. These people should be killed. Lu Ming's cold gaze swept across the Wind Race's Emperor-to-be and the rest. Then, he sent a voice transmission to Pow Pow. Then, Lu Ming's figure suddenly stopped. He turned around abruptly and pounced toward the Wind Race's Emperor-to-be and the others. His body was shrouded in the power of spacetime, and his speed was extremely shocking. Moreover, he was moving from top to bottom, so he was even faster. In an instant, Lu Ming's figure appeared next to the Wind Race's Emperor-to-be. Time acceleration. Bubbles cried out as a spacetime law enveloped the Wind Race Quasi-Emperor. There was already a terrifying power of time in this place. Coupled with the Bubbles' time acceleration, the Wind Race's Quasi-Emperor felt as if his life was being taken away and his essence chi was rapidly flowing away. Kill! A combat sword appeared in Lu Ming's hand and he charged at the Wind Race's Emperor-to-be. Lu Ming, you dare to kill me? The Wind Clan is an ancient clan. The Wind Race's Emperor-to-be roared, but the next moment, the combat sword slashed down and the man's body was split into two. This person was truly laughable. Previously, he had targeted Lu Ming and wanted to kill him. Now, in the face of Lu Ming's counterattack, he even brought up the Wind Race to threaten Lu Ming. Buzz! After Lu Ming killed the Emperor-to-be of the Wind Race, he did not stop and charged at another giant wolf from the Sirius Tower. It was exactly the same as the Wind Race's Emperor-to-be. They had to resist the power of time with all their might. They were no match for Lu Ming and Bubbles. They did not have the power to fight back and were killed by Lu Ming's sword. As for their storage rings, they were naturally kept by Lu Ming. Not good retreat. And NBSP, the remaining giant wolf, the quasi-emperors of the Golden Crow race, and the Purple Extreme sect were all terrified as they madly rushed down the mountain. However, Lu Ming's speed was even faster. In a flash, he appeared in front of the Emperor-to-be of the Golden Crow race. No! The Golden Crow race's quasi-emperor roared, but as the sword fell, the man was also killed. Following that, Lu Ming charged toward the Emperor-to-be of the Purple Extreme sect and killed this person. After killing so many people, he had finally wasted some time. At this moment, the other giant wolf had already charged down the Time Mountain. Without the power of time, it would not be so easy to kill him. And NBSP, the giant wolf, ran down the Time God Mountain, trembling in fear. It didn't dare to stay any longer. With a furious roar, it actually shot up into the sky and left. Lu Ming continued to rush towards the peak of the Time Mountain. Follow current novels on Top Novel Fool. Come. Chapter 1957. Chapter 1957. Divine Tree in hand. The other emperors-to-be looked at Lu Ming in fear. Lu Ming's attack was too ruthless. He had killed 4 emperor-to-be in an instant with a thunderous blow just now. It sent a chill down everyone's spine. This was the Time Mountain. They were no match for Lu Ming. Some of them did not even dare to move forward and retreated from the Time Mountain. Boom! Boom! On the other 2 sides, the emperors-to-be of the Divine Time Island were bombarding the other 2 ancient altars. However, they couldn't stop the power of time from the altar at all. A few quasi-emperors from the Divine Time Island had died under the power of time. The others all retreated and didn't dare to continue. Damn it! The Sage Master roared in his heart, his eyes flashing with cold killing intent. Lu Ming did not listen to him and went to destroy the other 2 altars. If it wasn't for some special reason that he couldn't do it himself, he would have done it himself. Lu Ming and Bubbles kept going up and they were getting closer to the peak. Lu Ming could already see the Divine Tree of Time at the top of the mountain clearly. The Divine Tree of Time was only a meter tall. Its emerald green leaves glowed with a crystalline light, and 2 milky white fruits hung from its branches. I want it, Chirpy. Bubbles stared at the small tree, his eyes shining and his saliva almost drooling out. However, the closer they got to the peak, the stronger the power of time became. When they were close to the small tree, Lu Ming and Bubbles could feel a terrifying pressure. Lu Ming could feel that the essence energy in his body was slowly flowing away. His smooth skin was also slowly becoming dry and wrinkled. This proved that his lifespan was slowly decreasing. The small tree was less than 100 meters away from them. Continue! Lu Ming shouted. He circulated the chaos law to the extreme and coincided with the space-time law of Bubbles to resist the power of time together. At the same time, Lu Ming took out the Tai Chi disc array. A Tai Chi pattern was formed and pressed down on the 2 of them. Following that, the Dian elixir furnace also appeared. It floated above the 2 of them and sprinkled down a light screen. As a result, the pressure on them was greatly reduced. They continued to move forward, and the distance between them and the small tree was getting closer and closer. 90 meters, 80 meters, 70 meters, and NBSP very quickly. He was only 50 meters away from the tree. The time energy here was shockingly powerful. If it wasn't for the fact that they had destroyed an altar, they definitely wouldn't have been able to make it here. You can't reach the peak. You can't reach the peak. The Sage Master mumbled. He really hoped that Lu Ming would not be able to reach the peak. In that case, Lu Ming had no choice but to come down and destroy one of the other 2 altars. Only then would he be able to obtain the Divine Tree of Time. But he was destined to be disappointed. And NBSP Pow Pow spat out a crystal that gave off a terrifying space-time ripple that blocked the time energy as they continued forward. 40 meters, 30 meters. They continued to approach the small tree and finally came to the side of the time tree. Fruit. Bubbles' eyes glowed as she swallowed one of the milky white fruits in one gulp, showing a look of enjoyment. Then, Bubble grabbed the tree with both hands, pulled it down, and swallowed it. Detestable. The Sage Master's face darkened when he saw Lu Ming and the rest uprooting the Divine Tree of Time. Let's go. Lu Ming muttered and dashed down the mountain with the bubbles. It was difficult to go up the mountain but easy to go down the mountain. Lu Ming was as fast as lightning and he was halfway up the mountain in no time. At that moment, a figure appeared in front of Lu Ming. It was the Sage Master. Lu Ming, Now that you've obtained the divine tree of time, you should go and destroy the other 2 altars. The Sage Master said. Since you've already obtained the divine tree of time, why do you still want to destroy the other 2 altars? Isn't that unnecessary? Lu Ming asked. Destroying those 2 altars is useful to me. If you help me, I'll definitely reward you handsomely. The Sage Master's face was gloomy. No need, I'll be leaving this world soon. I'm not interested in your thanks. Move. Lu Ming shouted. He wanted to go around the Sage Master and leave this place. Today you have to agree even if you don't want to. Attack. The Sage Master bellowed. At the same time he made the first move. His body twisted violently and transformed into a combat sword, slashing toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's pupils constricted. This was the first time he had seen such a divine power. Get lost! Lu Ming shouted and threw a punch. A phantom of the prison-suppressing steel appeared and pressed toward the Sage Master. Boom! The Sage Master was sent flying as he angrily shouted, "Damn the prison-suppressing steel!" At this moment, Lu Ming felt a terrifying force rushing into his mind and attacking his soul, causing his soul to shake violently. Soul attack. This Sage Master doesn't have a physical body. Lu Ming was shocked. From the exchange of blows earlier, Lu Ming realized that the Sage Master was not a physical body but a spiritual body. No wonder his body could transform into a sword to attack. However, it was strange that a spirit body would not dissipate after existing for a long time. Moreover, the other party seemed to be very afraid of his prison-defending monument's attack. In Lu Ming's memory, only some demonic creatures and the 3-eyed god race would be afraid of the prison-defending monument. Could it be that the Sage Master was a demonic or evil spirit? The more he thought about it, the more he felt that the Sage Master didn't have good intentions when he asked him to destroy the remaining 2 altars. Buzz! And NBSP whoosh! At this moment, the other emperors-to-be of the Divine Time Island had also arrived. They all launched attacks at Lu Ming. However, Bubbles pressed down with both hands and the void seemed to be frozen. The experts from the Divine Time Island froze for a moment. Lu Ming rushed past them and headed down the mountain. Everyone, Lu Ming has the Divine Tree of Time. Once he consumes it, his lifespan will double and it even has the effect of breaking through bottlenecks. Are you going to let him have it just like that? The Sage Master roared, his voice reverberating through the entire area. Many Emperor-to-be from the outside world stared at Lu Ming with burning eyes. Lu Ming, let's stop. Let's make a deal. One by one, the Emperor-to-be experts charged toward Lu Ming. Their powerful auras exploded, forming a terrifying pressure. There were dozens of Emperor-to-be and they were terrifying when they joined forces. Even if Lu Ming and Bubbles joined forces, they were definitely not their match. Furthermore, the other party's Saint energy was so dense that even the Bubbles' space-time power could not pass through. Lu Ming, stay here and destroy the other 2 altars. Behind them, the Sage Master led the people from the Divine Time Island and charged over. Don't even think about it. Lu Ming stomped on the ground heavily, causing it to rumble. His body shot into the sky. Bubbles' space-time tunnel. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Bubbles. Bubbles immediately opened a space-time tunnel and Lu Ming rushed over. Not good, stop him. The Sage Master roared. Together with the experts of the Divine Time Island, they used all their strength to attack the space-time tunnel. At the same time, the Emperor-to-be from the outside world also launched an attack on Lu Ming. Dozens of terrifying attacks crushed over, causing the space to shake violently, and a hideous gap appeared. The space-time tunnel also exploded instantly. Lu Ming and Bubbles were blasted out. Follow current novels on Top Novelfool. Come. Chapter 1958. The terrifying creature under the Divine Mountain. The space-time tunnel exploded and Lu Ming and Bubbles were blasted out. However, Lu Ming and Bubbles had escaped some distance through the space-time tunnel, and had jumped out of the encirclement of the many Emperor-to-be. Let's go! Lu Ming and Bubbles sped off into the distance. He planned to head to the residence of the vast C9 nations and bring Ruan Tianjiao and the rest away. Damn it, none of you can escape, none of you can escape. Seeing that Lu Ming was about to leave, the Sage Master went crazy and started shouting madly. Boom! As the Sage Master shouted, the Time God Mountain rumbled and shook violently. Break, break, break. The Sage Master roared, his entire body emitting endless black light. The Divine Time Mountain continued to explode and shatter. Then, The entire Time God Mountain cracked from the middle. Clang, clang, clang. Everyone could hear the clanging of chains coming from the Time God Mountain. That's... Lu Ming's eyes suddenly focused. This was because he saw a huge and majestic figure in the crack of the Time God Mountain. This figure was in the form of an adult, but it was extremely huge. It was shrouded in a layer of black light, and its specific appearance could not be seen clearly. His 4 limbs and neck were each shackled by a huge iron chain. At this moment, the Sage Master turned into a black light and entered the huge black shadow. Break! The black shadow let out a loud roar, and his voice was actually the same as the Sage Master's. Clang, clang, clang. The chains, the God of Time Mountain, and even the entire God of Time Island were shaking. And NBSP, a terrifying time energy surged out of the massive black shadow, spreading in all directions. All, help! Some of the absolute saints let out shrill cries as the power of time passed through them. The next moment, their bodies withered and turned into skeletons. Even some Emperor-to-be were the same. Not good, let's go. Run. The remaining Emperor-to-be's expression changed and they fled frantically. Die, all of you must die. And NBSP break. The massive black figure roared as it began to struggle, sending even more time energy surging outward in waves. No. Some Emperors-to-be were rushed by the power of time and let out roars of unwillingness. In the midst of their roars, they turned into bones. Lu Ming and Bubbles increased their speed to the maximum and charged towards Yuan Tianjiao and the rest. At that moment, Lu Ming was suddenly enlightened about many things. He finally knew why the Sage Master had told him to destroy those altars. That was because the Sage Master was the massive figure of the Time God Mountain. It was the soul power that had split off from that massive figure. The giant figure was obviously sealed here, and the 3 altars were the key to the seal. The Sage Master had asked Lu Ming to destroy the 3 altars so that he could free himself. As Lu Ming had destroyed an altar, the power of the seal had weakened. That was why the other party was able to destroy the Divine Mountain and reveal himself. However, there were still 2 more altars, and the other party might not be able to come out. At this moment, Lu Ming was secretly glad that he did not destroy the 2 altars. Otherwise, they would be in danger when the huge figure appeared. That Sage Master really had a good scheme. It was said that the Divine Light Sacred Island was built by the Sage Master. Every 3 years, he would recruit a batch of powerful geniuses to cultivate on the Divine Time Island. Lu Ming suspected that the Sage Master had established the Divine Time Island, gathered the paragons, and nurtured these people. His goal was to wait for these people to become stronger so that they could destroy the altar. However, an ordinary Emperor-to-be would not be able to do so. This time, Lu Ming and the rest came to help the other party. Boom! Boom! The fluctuations of the Time God Mountain grew more and more violent as the terrifying power of time burst forth in all directions. The area it covered was getting wider and wider. If this continued, the entire Time God Island would probably be enveloped. Bubbles' space-time tunnel. Lu Ming said to Pow Pow. Bubbles nodded. With a wave of her hands, a space-time tunnel appeared. Lu Ming entered the space-time tunnel and in the next moment, he appeared at Yuan Tianjiao and the rest's residence. At this moment, the quaking of the Time God Mountain had also alarmed the other side. Many figures had gathered together and looked in the direction of the Time God Mountain in confusion. Lu Ming's sudden appearance by Yuan Tianjiao's side gave them a huge shock. Lu Ming, what's going on? Yuan Tianjiao asked subconsciously. There's no time, it'll take you guys away. Lu Ming took out the mountain and river diagram. A beam of light enveloped Yuan Tianjiao and the rest, and they were kept into the mountain and river diagram. You guys hurry up and escape. Lu Ming shouted at the others. Then, he soared into the sky and rushed out of the Divine Time Island. As for the others, they couldn't care so much. Whether they could escape with their lives would depend on their luck. Those people were stunned, not knowing what had happened. Humph. I guess this person offended the Sage Master and is being hunted down. We've come to the Sacred Island with great difficulty. How can we leave just because of his words? The people from Xianling Kingdom snorted coldly. Lu Ming had killed so many of their experts. Why would they believe his words? The people from the other countries nodded and agreed with what the man from Mysterious Spirit Highlands said. They felt that Lu Ming must have offended the Sage Master and was running for his life. But following that, the rumbling sounds from the depths of the Divine Time Island grew more and more intense. Following that, they saw streaks of light shooting out of the Divine Time Island with astonishing speed. They were all foreign emperors-to-be, and some of them had been able to escape here. It seems like something extraordinary has really happened. Some people's faces were pale. In the next moment, screams rang out from the depths of the Divine Time Island. One figure after another shot up into the sky, wanting to escape. However, an invisible fluctuation spread out and those people were fixed in the air. Then, their bodies shriveled up as if time had been deprived of them. The older ones directly decayed. The younger ones also aged in an instant, then rotted and turned into dry bones. Run! These people were finally scared and rushed out like crazy. However, they hadn't flown very far when the terrifying power of time swept over them. Their bodies froze in the air and then rapidly aged, turning into bones that fell to the ground. Even their bones began to rot and turn into powder. At this moment, Bubbles opened up a space-time tunnel once again. The two of them rushed out of the space-time Divine Island's boundary and flew into the distance at top speed. Roar! A terrifying roar came from the temporal island. It was filled with anger and unwillingness. Following that, Lu Ming saw a streak of rainbow light rushing out of the Divine Time Island in a panic and rapidly disappearing into the distance. They were several Emperor-to-be experts. The others who didn't escape were probably dead. Lu Ming sighed and flew to the distance to observe from afar. After that, a few more indignant roars rang out from the Divine Time Island before dying down. It seemed that the huge figure had not escaped. However, in the entire temporal Divine Island, other than those who had managed to escape, no one else had managed to escape. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Come. Chapter 1959. Chapter 1959 Lawlight. What is that figure on the Time God Mountain? It's that terrifying? Lu Ming furrowed his eyebrows tightly. The giant figure was too terrifying. Its strength was unfathomable, even more terrifying than a true emperor. Could it be that the Celestial the Arch has suppressed them here? Lu Ming thought about it carefully and felt that it was very likely. The world here was originally suppressed by the Heavenly Emperor Mountain. It only appeared when the two great sovereigns fought and the Heavenly Emperor Mountain exploded. It was very likely that he was a powerful existence suppressed by the Celestial the Arch. Then Lu Ming shook his head, turned into a ray of light, and left the place. That kind of powerful existence was not something he could interfere with, so there was no point in thinking too much. Lu Ming headed in the direction of the vast sea 9 nations. A few days later, he brought Wan Tianjiao and the rest back to the Mingyan country. Heavenly Flood Dragon, I'm leaving. In the palace of Mingyan country, Wan Tianjiao's delicate body trembled slightly, and her eyes were a little complicated. Although she knew that Lu Ming would leave sooner or later because they were not from the same world, she did not expect that day to come so quickly. In the end, he's just a passerby in the Mingyan country. Wan Tianjiao sighed in his heart and collected his thoughts. He revealed a smile on his face and asked, "Where are you going? Are we going back to outer space? Do you know that there are other worlds apart from the 10,000 Sea Realm?" Lu Ming shook his head. Wan Tianjiao thought for a moment. There are legends. It said that there are 9 worlds similar to the 10,000 Sea Realm. They are all connected. Only Saint Emperors can travel there. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He knew that Wan Tianjiao was talking about the world of the lotus flower. In the world of the lotus, 9 petals were 9 worlds. Do you know where the passageway is? Lu Ming continued to ask. Legend has it that in the far west of the 10,000 Sea Realm, there is a void passage that leads to other worlds. Yuan Tianjiao said. The far west. Lu Ming nodded. A storage ring appeared in his hand and he passed it to Wan Tianjiao. Heavenly Flood Dragon. There are some saint herbs, saint weapons, battle formations, and cultivation techniques in here. Keep them. They will be helpful to the Mingyan country. Wan Tianjiao cast a complicated look at Lu Ming, then took the storage ring and said, Lu Ming, take care. Take care. We'll meet again if we're fated. Lu Ming cupped his fists, then soared into the sky and disappeared from Wan Tianjiao's sight. One wonder if we will meet again in this life after we part today. A long sigh was heard. Lu Ming was extremely fast. Like a flash of light, he flew toward the far west of the 10,000 Sea Realm. The endless ocean and the islands flitted past Lu Ming. With Lu Ming's current speed, if he used his full strength, it would be terrifying. He was much faster than the space-breaking flying shuttle that was 20 times faster. After a few days, the ocean became more and more desolate. There were no more islands to be seen, only the endless ocean. After 2 more days, a loud rumbling sound came from afar. Lu Ming discovered that the void in the distance was in chaos. It was as if a huge abyss had appeared out of thin air and divided the sky into two. It was the endless void turbulence. Lu Ming approached and a powerful force hit him. It was the power of the void. If one's cultivation was not high enough, they would be crushed into pieces by the power of the void. However, to Lu Ming, it did not affect him much. Chirping, a bubbles cried out. His body moved and he charged into the chaotic space currents like a fish in water. Lu Ming smiled and stepped in as well. Chi chi chi. The void turbulence was everywhere and it kept rushing towards Lu Ming, forming a terrifying cutting force. Lu Ming circulated the chaos laws throughout his body to resist the cutting power of the void. The laws of chaos trembled slightly. I'm afraid ordinary absolute saints won't be able to resist it after a long time. Lu Ming pondered. Lu Ming and Bubbles continued to move forward. Not long after, Lu Ming saw a huge vortex floating in the void. The vortex was like a black hole, deep, mysterious and terrifying. Even from a distance, one could feel the terrifying tearing force of the vortex. Lu Ming's expression turned grave. It seemed that the void turbulence was not completely free of danger. This kind of pitch-black vortex was very terrifying. It would be very dangerous if one were to enter by mistake. Moreover, the vortex was constantly moving. Following that, Lu Ming continued to move forward. He would discover a pitch-black vortex every once in a while. The void turbulence here was very long. After a day, Lu Ming and the rest still had not passed through. Brother Lu Ming, Bubbles is going to cultivate. Bubbles seemed to have understood something and said to Lu Ming, "You can continue your cultivation." Lu Ming said. Bubble nodded and sat cross-legged in the middle of the turbulent void. The power of the turbulent void flow acted on Bubble's body and passed through it, as though she was not in this dimension. Lu Ming stood not far away from the bubble, shrouded in the laws of chaos. While Bubbles was cultivating, he could also make use of the power of the void turbulence to temper his chaos laws. Time passed day by day. 7 days later, Bubbles' body suddenly emitted a ray of light. The light was very faint at first, but slowly, it became more and more intense and dazzling. This is space-time light. Lu Ming widened his eyes and was overjoyed. Anyone who cultivated a powerful law might be able to cultivate a type of law light. For example, the stellar river had produced the eternal light. Lu Ming had a deep memory of the power of the eternal light in the galaxy. Not only did the eternal light have terrifying offensive power, but it also had powerful defensive abilities. It could be used to attack and defend, and it could greatly increase one's combat power. But to want to cultivate this kind of law light, it was extremely difficult. In theory, the 10 ultimate laws and many king path laws all had the opportunity to cultivate the light of law. However, in reality, only a small number of people were able to cultivate it. The Son of Heaven who had comprehended the 10 ultimate laws had a higher chance of cultivating it, but it was not 100%. For example, Eternal Star River only managed to cultivate eternal light after reaching the Great Circle of the Absolute Saint stage. Back then, the Death Blade had not been able to cultivate the light of death. Lu Ming did not cultivate the light of chaos. As for the King Path laws, it was even more difficult to cultivate the light of laws. Only an extremely small number of king physiques could cultivate it. Once it was cultivated, one's combat strength would skyrocket and one would be able to suppress heaven's favorites of the same level. Now that Bubbles had cultivated the space-time light, Lu Ming was naturally happy. Lu Ming guessed that Bubbles had swallowed a fruit from the divine tree of time. In addition to the void turbulence here, they had combined and gained some insights before they refined the light of time and space. At this moment, the space-time light was retracted. The bubble ended its cultivation and jumped onto Lu Ming's shoulder. Bubbles' cultivation was still at the late-stage Absolute Saint realm, but her battle power was probably stronger than before. Now, even if Lu Ming were to go all out, it would be difficult to defeat Bubbles. Lu Ming smiled and continued to move forward. Follow current novels on Top Novel Fool. Come. Chapter 1960. Intense battle in the chaotic space basin LN the void turbulence. Lu Ming would be fine as long as he avoided the black vortex. After walking for a while, Lu Ming raised his eyebrows and stopped. That was because many figures had appeared in front of him. At a glance, there were about a dozen of them. However, the turbulent void currents blocked his vision, and Lu Ming could not see the specific appearance of the people. Obviously, the other party had also discovered him. The figure of the other party paused for a moment, then continued to step forward. Not long after, the dozen or so figures in front of him became clear. Luo Pokong. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. Among the dozen or so people, he saw Luo Pokong's figure. In addition, there was another familiar face, Wu Fengchen of the Wind Race. At the same time, Luo Pokong and Feng Wuchen also saw him. Luo Pokong was stunned at first, but his opponent One's eyes lit up and emitted a cold killing intent. He shouted, "Lu Ming, it's actually you. Don't let him go, surround him." Buzz. And NBSP whoosh. Figures flickered around Luo Pokong and Feng Wuchen, surrounding Lu Ming. Powerful auras were locked onto Lu Ming. Emperors-to-be were all experts in the Emperor-to-be realm. Obviously, only those like Luo Pokong and Feng Wuchen who had monarch weapons to protect their bodies could step into the void turbulence. They were obviously the Emperor-to-be of the Daluo Heaven sect and the Wind Race. Ha ha ha, Lu Ming. One didn't expect to meet you here. This void turbulence shall be your burial ground. Luo Pokong laughed arrogantly. He had been defeated by Lu Ming several times and could not wait to kill Lu Ming. Unfortunately, Lu Ming's combat strength was too terrifying and he had too many heaven's favorites around him. Even Luo Congqiong was defeated by Lu Ming. Even the Eternal Star River had failed to kill Lu Ming. He had no chance at all in the Yuan Mountains Sacred Academy. However, there were more than a dozen Emperor-to-be experts beside him and Feng Wuchen. Lu Ming was dead for sure. Lu Ming frowned. Even if he and Bubbles joined forces, they might not be able to defeat more than 10 Emperor-to-be. Kill! Lu Ming suddenly moved. He had the upper hand by striking first. Together with Bubbles, he charged towards the right. Bubbles waved her hand and 2 transparent bubbles enveloped the 2 Emperor-to-be in front of her. Then, Lu Ming pointed 2 fingers and the chaotic finger of calamity exploded, bombarding the 2 Emperor-to-be. Although the 2 Emperors-to-be tried their best to resist, they were still severely injured. Their bodies were sent flying like cannonballs and almost exploded. The 2 Emperor-to-be were blasted away and there was a hole in the encirclement. Lu Ming continued to flash forward. However, at this moment, a figure caught up with Lu Ming at an extremely fast speed. His iron fist was like a mountain as it smashed toward Lu Ming. The iron fist struck out, and the turbulent flow of the void was scattered, revealing a vacuum tunnel. Lu Ming's expression changed. What a terrifying punch. The prison-suppressing heaven art. At the critical moment, Lu Ming activated the prison-suppressing heavenly art and threw a punch as well. Boom! When the 2 fists collided, Lu Ming felt an extremely terrifying force surge towards him. Lu Ming felt his arms go numb and he could not help but retreat. This person is so strong. Lu Ming's heart sank slightly as he looked at the middle-aged man in front of him. This brawny man's combat strength was extremely shocking, far beyond the other Emperor-to-be. This person's spiritual body is extraordinary. It's a high-grade heaven spiritual body. Lu Ming had a thought. Of course, there were strong and weak Emperor-to-be combat strength. Lu Ming was not afraid of those who broke through to the Emperor-to-be realm with their earth spiritual body. He could even defeat and kill them. However, if a heavenly spirit body broke through to the Emperor-to-be realm, his combat strength would undoubtedly be much stronger. The brawny man in front of him had broken through to the Emperor-to-be realm with a superior heavenly spirit body. Such a person was already a top talent when he was young. He was only slightly weaker than the body of a king, but his combat strength was extremely shocking. With Lu Ming's current cultivation, he was no match for him. Boom! The man took another step forward and charged at Lu Ming. Chirping. Bubbles waved his hands and endless void turbulence gushed towards this person. However, this person's battle prowess was indeed shocking. His fists were like mountains as he continuously punched out, breaking apart the chaotic currents in the void. Bubble, don't fight this person head-on. Go the other way. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Bubbles. The 2 of them moved and rushed to the other side. At this moment, the other Emperor-to-be also launched an attack on Lu Ming and the others. More than a dozen terrifying divine abilities drove the void turbulence and drowned Lu Ming and the others. Space-time light appeared on Bubbles' body. He waved his hands and space-time turbulence rolled back towards his opponent, causing a continuous rumbling sound. Lu Ming moved and rushed to an Emperor-to-be. He pressed his hands together and 9 illusionary prison-suppressing steels appeared and pressed down on the man. The man let out a long howl and tried his best to resist, but he was still forced to retreat. Following that, countless runes appeared on Lu Ming's left hand. He cast a sealing force and sealed the man while he pointed with all his might with his right hand. And NBSP, a chaos finger of tribulation, shot toward this person. Kill! At this moment, the others, including the Emperor-to-be with the superior class heavenly spirit body, also launched an attack on Lu Ming and the rest. Brother Lu Ming, leave it to me, Xueqi. Bubbles rushed out and spurted out with her small mouth. More than 10 transparent bubbles appeared and covered more than 10 Emperor-to-be experts. More than a dozen Emperor-to-be froze at the same time. Then, they burst out their strength and hit the transparent bubble. As for the brawny man, his combat strength was indeed astonishing. After a few consecutive punches, he shattered the transparent bubble. However, this delay had given Lu Ming enough time. That Emperor-to-be was sealed by Lu Ming's sealing power. Then, the chaotic finger of tribulation fell. The Emperor-to-be screamed in pain and half of his body exploded. Buzz! However, Lu Ming did not give him any chance to react. The Tai Chi formation disc flew out from between his brows, and 2 yin-yang fish swords shot out rapidly, slashing down and killing the man. Damn it, a bunch of trash! Luo Pokong roared from afar. More than a dozen Emperor-to-be surrounded Lu Ming and his companion. Lu Ming had actually killed one of them. This was a disgrace. Use the sovereign weapon to stop this little girl. Leave Lu Ming to me, he ordered. The middle-aged man shouted. I'll do it. An Emperor-to-be from the wind race waved his hand and a small pagoda appeared. It then grew rapidly like a mountain and endless gales whistled. Like a cage, it enveloped the bubble. At the same time, the middle-aged brawny man charged at Lu Ming with all his might. His fist force was terrifying. Every punch caused the void to shake violently. Lu Ming pointed a few times, but the chaos finger of tribulation was also defeated after colliding with the other party. Lu Ming was at a disadvantage. On the other side, Paoba was dashing left and right to avoid the giant pagoda. However, there were too many Emperor-to-be on the other side. There were more than 10 of them. They locked onto all directions and kept launching attacks. They blocked Bubbles' escape route in a brutal and direct way. There were even 2 of them who took out their monarch weapons and blocked Bubbles' path of retreat. For a moment, the bubble was trapped and it was difficult for it to help Lu Ming. Buzz! Lu Ming controlled the Tai Chi disc array and pressed it down on the middle-aged man. At the same time, the Dian elixir furnace appeared and enlarged rapidly, smashing toward the man. I have a monarch weapon too, the middle-aged man said coldly. A giant hammer appeared in his hand and he swung it at the Tai Chi formation disc and the Da Yen elixir furnace. Chapter 1961. Qiu Yu is seriously injured. Clang. The Tai Chi formation disc was sent flying back. Then, the giant hammer hit the Da Yen elixir furnace. The Da Yen elixir furnace trembled and was also sent flying back. Men, help me kill Lu Ming, the middle-aged man shouted. 2 Emperor-to-be rushed toward Lu Ming to cooperate with the middle-aged man. With the cooperation of the 2 Emperor-to-be, the middle-aged man was even more unscrupulous. The giant hammer was the size of a house and it kept smashing toward Lu Ming with an amazing momentum. Thump, thump. Lu Ming blocked it with the Dian elixir furnace, which kept retreating. And NBSP hoo-hoo. At this moment, a terrifying whistling sound came from behind Lu Ming. A huge, pitch-black vortex was slowly moving toward him. Ha, Lu Ming, you're dead. The middle-aged man was overjoyed. Even the heavens wanted Lu Ming to die. At this moment, a black vortex moved over, leaving Lu Ming no room to retreat. Chirping. Bubbles shouted and wanted to help, but the 3 monarch weapons had locked down 3 directions. The other quasi-sages were bombarding her. Although Bubbles' space-time law was profound, the opponent was using a brutal method to disrupt the void. Bubbles could only protect herself and couldn't help. At that moment, a pair of cold eyes were staring at Lu Ming from behind the black vortex. This man was actually Luo Congqiong. In fact, Luo Congqiong was with Luo Pokong and the others. It was just that he had been cultivating alone in the void before, so Lu Ming did not notice him. He heard the commotion and rushed over. He did not expect to see Lu Ming. And NBSP, he hid behind the pitch-black vortex and used the law of deprivation to condense the divine imprint of deprivation, constantly draining the energy in the air. The more time passed, the more energy was stripped away, and the more powerful the power of the divine seal would be. By now, the power of the divine seal had reached a terrifying level. Even Luo Zongqiong himself was shocked. Lu Ming, I'll use this move to send you on your way. Luo Kangqiong's eyes flashed with ferocity. When he saw an opening when Lu Ming was suppressed by the middle-aged man and the two emperor-to-be, Luo Zongqiong did not hesitate to flash out. The divine seal of deprivation flew out rapidly and pressed down on Lu Ming. Luo Zongqiong. Lu Ming's heart trembled. The power of the deprivation divine seal was too shocking. It even surpassed the middle-aged man's attack by a large margin. At this time, Lu Ming was resisting the attacks of the middle-aged man and the other two emperor-to-be with all his might. He did not expect that Luo Zongqiong would suddenly attack from behind the vortex. It was too late for him to dodge. Xueqi had first entered Yellow Rock World. After exploring a few of the ruins of this world, she also came to the edge of Yellow Rock World and entered the Void Turbulence, wanting to head to another world to explore. She cultivated in the Void Turbulence as she walked. After walking for a few days, she suddenly heard a violent boom from ahead. Xueqi retracted her aura and walked forward. She saw Lu Ming fighting with someone. Just as she was about to help, she saw that Luo Zongqiong had suddenly attacked Lu Ming. At this moment, Xueqi pounced forward without any hesitation. "Young master, be careful." A crisp sound rang in Lu Ming's ears. Then, he saw a white figure rushing from the side at high speed toward the divine seal of deprivation. "Xueqi." Lu Ming's heart trembled. Then, he heard a loud boom. Xueqi's body flew towards Lu Ming. In the air, her blood was red, like a beautiful blood-colored rose. "Xueqi." At this moment, Lu Ming roared loudly, his eyes red. Luo Kangqiong's move was too powerful. Lu Ming knew very well that Xueqi would not be able to withstand it. Lu Ming let out a long roar and controlled the Dian elixir furnace with all his might to block the attacks of the middle-aged man and the two emperor-to-be. He moved his body and caught Xueqi. At this moment, Xueqi's face was as white as snow. Blood was flowing out of her mouth and she was extremely weak. It was like a weak candle that could be extinguished at any moment. "Xueqi, it's you. How is that possible?" Luo Zongqiong roared in disbelief. Why did Xueqi suddenly appear and block his sure kill move? He was stunned for a moment and forgot to attack. The middle-aged man also knew that Luo Zongqiong had been pursuing Xueqi. When he saw this scene, he couldn't help but stop. "Xueqi, why are you so stupid? Why did you block for me?" Lu Ming hugged Xueqi, his heart trembling. With his cultivation and the strength of his body, even if he were to take a blow head-on, he would at most be heavily injured and might not die. However, it was a different story for Xueqi. Young master. Young master, I've said before that I'll always be by your side." Xueqi spoke, but her voice was weak. Her aura was also getting weaker. Lu Ming held Xueqi's hand and saint energy flowed into her body continuously, protecting her heart. However, it was still useless. Xueqi's breath became weaker and weaker, and her eyes slowly closed. "Lu Ming, hand Xueqi over to me. Even if she dies, she'll still be mine." Luo Zongqiong said coldly. "Luo Zongqiong." At this moment, Lu Ming looked at Luo Zongqiong with bloodshot eyes. His body was filled with an extremely cold killing intent, like a demon from the 9 netherworlds purgatory. 111 definitely kill you, and 111 flatten the Daluo heaven sect sooner or later. Lu Ming said in a cold and emotionless voice. Luo Zongqiong felt a chill run down his spine when Lu Ming stared at him coldly. He roared, "If you still want to kill me, then I'll let you both die here today as a pair of mandarin ducks sharing the same fate." Boom! A terrifying aura burst out of Luo Kangqiong's body, and a monarch weapon appeared. Luo Zongqiong was the grandson of the Great Sovereign, and the monarch weapon he had was given by the Great Sovereign. It was extremely terrifying. "Let's attack together and kill them," Luo Zongqiong roared. The sovereign weapon carried a terrifying power and charged at Lu Ming. At the same time, the middle-aged man made his move. His giant hammer broke through the air and headed for Lu Ming. "Luo Zongqiong, I will definitely kill you in the future," Lu Ming said coldly. With a single thought, the Dian elixir furnace did not protect him but blasted towards the bubble. As for himself, he recalled Xueqi into the mountain and river diagram with a thought. At the same time, Lu Ming used the Tai Chi formation disc and the chaos gem to block in front of him. He retreated quickly and rushed toward the black vortex. Boom! Boom! The Tai Chi formation plate was sent flying back by the middle-aged man while the Rock of Chaos flew toward Lu Ming after being hit by Luo Kangqiong's monarch weapon. The terrifying power increased Lu Ming's speed and he flew directly into the black vortex. At once, an extremely powerful force acted on Lu Ming's body. His figure disappeared into the vortex. On the other side, the Da Yen elixir furnace smashed down and sent one of the monarch weapons that trapped Bubbles flying. In a flash, Bubbles charged out of the encirclement and into the pitch-black vortex. "Stop that pill furnace!" Someone shouted and wanted to stop the Great Yen elixir furnace. However, the Great Yen elixir furnace had long recognized Lu Ming as its master and was very intelligent. It blew away a few Emperor-to-be and rushed into the dark vortex, disappearing. Chapter 1962. In the Void Storm, damn it! Luo Congqiong roared with cold-killing intent. "Humph, Lu Ming is dead for sure after entering this black vortex," Luo Pokong said with a cold smile as he stepped on air. "That's right, he's dead." The other emperors-to-be also smiled. There was a terrifying destructive power in the black vortex. They were all shocked. Lu Ming would definitely die if he entered. Not necessarily. Luo Kangqiong's expression was very cold. Lu Ming is very terrifying and unpredictable. Moreover, there's another person who understands the law of time and space going in with him. He might not die. These words caused the hearts of the others to tremble. Indeed, Lu Ming was very terrifying to begin with. In addition, he had a person who knew the space-time law. Even if he entered the pitch-black vortex, he might not be in any trouble. In that case, Lu Ming was the one who took the initiative to go in just now. Everyone's expression was ugly, but they had no confidence in going in to pursue. After all, the danger was unpredictable. "Humph, Lu Ming, even if he doesn't die, it'll kill him sooner or later." Luo Congqiong snorted coldly. They did not leave, but guarded the place in case Lu Ming came out. They had guessed correctly. Lu Ming had indeed entered the dark vortex on his own accord. It wasn't that he didn't dare to fight. He still had a trump card. However, he was worried about Qiu Yu's safety. Qiu Yu's injuries were too severe. She had to be treated as soon as possible, or she would be in real danger. As soon as Lu Ming entered the pitch-black vortex, a terrifying destructive cutting force surged towards him from all directions. Lu Ming circulated his holy power and controlled the chaos laws at the same time, covering his entire body to resist the attack. Zzzzzzz. The cutting force kept hitting Lu Ming's body, causing the chaos laws to tremble as if they were about to collapse. This cutting power is indeed amazing. Lu Ming circulated the chaos laws at full force to resist. At the same time, there was a void storm in the black vortex, pushing Lu Ming aimlessly into the distance. Whoosh! Not long after, there was a flash of light and Bubbles appeared beside Lu Ming. Bubbles controlled space-time and had already cultivated the space-time light. The void storm could not do anything to her. Bubbles appeared beside Lu Ming. They set up space-time laws around them, blocking the void storm outside. Buzz! The next moment, the Dian elixir furnace flew over and was put away by Lu Ming. Qiu Yu. Lu Ming was thinking about Qiu Yu. With a thought, Qiu Yu came out of the mountain and river diagram. At this moment, Qiu Yu was unconscious and her breathing was weak. Luo Kangqiong's attack was too powerful. He had hidden at the side and used the law of deprivation to deprive the outside world of energy. He had accumulated a terrifying amount of power and had intended to kill Lu Ming in one blow. In a hurry, Qiu Yu only wanted to block that move for Lu Ming. She was too seriously injured. Damn it! Lu Ming gritted his teeth. He could not wait to crush Luo Kangqiong's bones and scatter his ashes. Qiu Yu, I won't let anything happen to you. Lu Ming muttered and took out a healing pill. He melted the pill with his holy power and fused it into Qiu Yu's body. However, Qiu Yu's injuries were still not getting better. Brother Lu Ming, try the fruit of the divine tree of time. The bubble opened its mouth and the divine tree of time appeared. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The divine tree of time originally had 2 milky white fruits. Bubble had swallowed one and there was still one left. Since the divine tree of time could double a martialist's longevity, it was actually equivalent to increasing their vitality. This meant that the fruit of the divine tree of time contained powerful vitality. This fruit might be able to save Qiu Yu. Lu Ming plucked the fruit and refined it into Qiu Yu's body with holy power. As expected, The fruit of the divine time tree contained boundless vitality that seeped into Xueqi's limbs and bones. The injuries on her body were rapidly recovering, and her aura had also stabilized. However, he did not wake up. Brother Lu Ming, it seems like Sister Qiu's injuries are too severe. Just a fruit of the divine tree of time is not enough to wake her up. Pao Pao sized up Xueqi before saying. Lu Ming circulated his saint energy throughout Xueqi's body. After a while he sighed. Even though Xueqi's life force had stabilized, it was just as Bubbles had said. It was not easy to wake her up. Lu Ming caressed Xueqi's face and wiped the blood off the corner of her mouth. He said softly, Xueyue, no matter what, I won't let anything happen to you. I won't let go of Luo Congqiong and the Daluo Heaven sect. At the end of his sentence, Lu Ming's voice turned cold and a cold killing intent burst forth. It had been far too dangerous this time. Fortunately, he had the fruit of the divine tree of time. Otherwise, the consequences would have been dire. If anything happened to Xueqi, Lu Ming would never be at ease. Xueqi was still the same as before. She did not say much and did not have many requests. She only stayed by Lu Ming's side silently and was willing to give up everything for him, including her life. Lu Ming held Xueqi's small hand as he recalled the scenes of their childhood. After a long time, Lu Ming sent Xueqi back into the mountain and river diagram and placed her under the path understanding ancient tree, hoping that it would be of help to her. At this moment, Lu Ming took a look at his surroundings. They were still in the chaotic void storm. The bubble enveloped the surroundings with space-time laws and broke through the void storm. Bubble, how do we get out? Lu Ming asked. In the aspect of space, nature bubbles were more skilled. Brother Lu Ming, with my current cultivation, I can't force my way out of this space. I need to wait. I need to find a weak point in the space and rush out in one fell swoop. Bubbles explained. Lu Ming nodded. They continued to wait while observing their surroundings, looking for an opportunity. As time passed, Bubbles' power grew weaker and weaker. If this continued, they would be in danger when Bubbles' power was exhausted. I don't even know where they're floating to. Lu Ming pondered. It was very dangerous to drift in the void like this. It would be fine if he drifted to other worlds. However, if he drifted to the void of eternal nothingness, he would die without the cultivation of a martial supreme. Brother Lu Ming, I got it. Look over there. Bubbles suddenly pointed to the right. Lu Ming looked over and saw that there were some fluctuations in the void. Let's attack with all our might and break out. Chirp chirp. Bubbles cried out as he controlled the laws of time to change direction and fly towards the source of the fluctuation. Chaos finger. Lu Ming used all his strength and pointed his finger. Now, Lu Ming's chaos finger of tribulation had reached 94% completion. The power of a full force point was astonishing. At the same time, the bubbles cooperated with Lu Ming to bombard the void. Boom! The void trembled violently. Then, there was a hiss and a crack appeared. Lu Ming was overjoyed and he rushed over with the bubble. As soon as he rushed through the crack, Lu Ming realized that he had appeared in a cave. Roar! A loud roar came from behind Lu Ming. The stench assailed his nostrils, and it was accompanied by a scorching aura. In front of Lu Ming, there was a burly man who looked at Lu Ming and Bubbles with a dumbfounded expression. Chapter 1963. The Myriad Beast Realm. Lu Ming's gaze swept across the area and he saw a fiery red giant lizard behind him. It was staring at Lu Ming with wide eyes. In front of him was the middle-aged burly man. He was also looking at Lu Ming in shock. The man and the giant lizard exuded a powerful aura. They were both Emperor-to-be existences. Through the traces at the scene, Lu Ming understood. The battle between the middle-aged man and the giant lizard must have caused a spatial fluctuation, causing the space to become fragile. They must have found out about it and attacked with all their might. With their cooperation, they pierced through the space and appeared here. Roar! At this moment, the giant lizard roared angrily, treating Lu Ming as the burly man's ally. It took a step forward and flames burst out of its body. It spat out a fireball at Lu Ming. Lu Ming threw a punch and the illusionary image of the prison-suppressing steel appeared, destroying the giant lizard's fireball. Bang! Bang! The giant lizard stomped on the ground and the cave rumbled as it pounced toward Lu Ming. The sharp claws tore through the air, as sharp as divine blades. At the same time, it bit at Lu Ming with its fangs. You're looking for death. Lu Ming's gaze turned cold. He was already filled with anger. The moment the giant lizard appeared, it charged at him. This made Lu Ming even angrier. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming's Saint energy boiled as he threw a few punches at the giant lizard. Although the giant lizard had the combat strength of an emperor-to-be, it was still no match for Lu Ming in a head-on collision. It was forced to retreat by Lu Ming's attacks. Bang! Lu Ming leaped high and looked down from above. He punched the giant lizard's head, causing it to crash heavily onto the ground. Roar! The giant lizard's head hit the ground and it let out a loud roar. Its scaly tail whipped at Lu Ming like an iron whip. Lu Ming grabbed the giant lizard's tail, lifted it up, and threw it towards the entrance of the cave. Buzz! The giant lizard was thrown out of the cave by Lu Ming. Roar! At this moment, a terrifying roar came from outside the cave. This roar did not come from the giant lizard, but from below the cave. The roar was so powerful that Lu Ming's eardrums vibrated as if there was a supreme demon there. Then, Lu Ming saw the giant lizard let out a terrified roar and its body fell rapidly, as if it was attracted by some force. Roar! Roar! Then, the earth-shaking roars continued to ring out. A terrifying sound wave reverberated in the area. The middle-aged burly man's expression was grave. He kept his distance from Lu Ming, not daring to go out at all. "Senior, what's that outside?" Lu Ming asked. "I don't know." The middle-aged man shook his head. "Where is this place?" Lu Ming asked again. "The Myriad Beast Realm," the middle-aged man said. He sized Lu Ming up and said, "You should be the son of Chaos of the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy, right?" "Oh!" Lu Ming's eyes lit up. It seemed that they were still in one of the 9 worlds of the world of the lotus flower. They had not gone too far. At this moment, the roars outside stopped. Lu Ming was about to ask again when the middle-aged man rushed out of the cave and disappeared. Lu Ming was speechless. He followed them to the entrance of the cave and looked outside. His eyes widened involuntarily. The scene outside was extremely magnificent. The place he was in looked like the crater of a volcano, or a huge cave that led underground. He was standing on one of the walls of the cave. As far as the eye could see, the surrounding walls of the cave were densely packed with caves. In the middle of the cave, there were stone bridges that were connected to each other. The cave went all the way down, and it was dark down there. The roar just now had come from below. Lu Ming saw the middle-aged burly man leap onto a stone bridge and rush into a cave diagonally opposite him, disappearing. Lu Ming looked around again and realized that there were indeed figures flickering in some caves. Could it be that this place is a historical site of the Myriad Beast Realm, and many outsiders are exploring here? Lu Ming pondered. He saw some figures flickering out of some caves. They seemed to be very cautious. They landed on the stone bridges and waited cautiously for a moment. Then, they jumped down to the stone bridge below. Just like that, they continued to go down and explore the caves below. Roar! At this moment, another earth-shattering roar sounded from the depths of the cave. Along with the roar, a terrifying suction force came from the depths of the cave, as if it wanted to swallow everything. Ah! A terrified scream was heard. Lu Ming saw an absolute saint powerhouse who happened to be in the air and did not land on the stone bridge. Instead, he was swallowed by the force and disappeared into the endless abyss. Lu Ming gasped. What was down there? Even an absolute saint could not resist it. The giant lizard from before was also devoured by the force. However, Lu Ming realized that those who landed on the stone bridge were fine. It was as if the stone bridge could block the devouring power. No wonder those people were so careful when they jumped on the stone bridge. This place is full of danger. Lu Ming muttered and looked around. He realized that the cave he was in had no other exit. The only way out was the cave in front of him. Let's rest here for a while. Bubble. You should recover first, Lu Ming said to Pow Pow. Previously, in the Void Storm, Bubble had circulated her space-time laws to resist and had expended a lot of energy. This was a good opportunity for her to recuperate and rest. Okay, brother Lu Ming, chirp chirp. Pow Pow nodded and took out a large number of origin stones and saint herbs to start recovering. Lu Ming also sat cross-legged, devouring the rough stone to regulate his breathing. Not long after, Lu Ming's condition had returned to its peak. At this moment, Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The Stone of Chaos appeared in his hand. Previously, Lu Ming had used the Rock of Chaos to block the blow from Luo Kankiong's sovereign weapon. At that time, Lu Ming had heard an obscure sound, which seemed to be the sound of the Rock of Chaos cracking. Lu Ming took it out and examined it. Indeed, there was a crack on the Rock of Chaos. The Rock of Chaos is indestructible, but it was actually cracked. That Luo Kangqiong's monarch weapon is really powerful. Lu Ming had a thought and then thought that since the Chaos Gem had cracked, he might as well break it open and take a look. Immediately, Lu Ming circulated all the energy in his body, grabbed the Chaos Gem, and tried to break it. Kacha! The Rock of Chaos produced an even louder sound, and the crack became even bigger. As expected, it can be pried open. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. If not for the crack that had appeared on the Rock of Chaos, it would not have been able to be opened. Lu Ming continued to exert force. A moment later, the Rock of Chaos was completely broken into two halves. Ding, 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 ding. Inside the Rock of Chaos, there were two small crystals that fell to the ground. This is Chaos Crystal. Lu Ming's eyes lit up at the sight of the two crystals. Chapter 1964. Refining the light of chaos, he pried open the Chaos Gem and two Chaos Crystals fell out. Lu Ming was overjoyed. This was because Chaos Crystals were formed by the condensation of Chaos Qi. During the auction, the other party had said that there was no Chaos Qi left in the Chaos Gem, which was why the price had been so low. However, no one had expected that the Chaos Gems contained Chaos Qi. Instead, all the Chaos Qi had gathered together and turned into Chaos Crystals. Chaos Crystals were nearly fused with Chaos Gems, so it was impossible to discover them without cracking the Chaos Gems. Tvi earned. I've really earned a lot. Lu Ming checked carefully and confirmed that there were only two Chaos Crystals in the Chaos Gem. Lu Ming immediately controlled the Chaos Laws and enveloped the two Chaos Crystals. Buzz! Buzz! When the laws of chaos enveloped the Chaos Crystals, the two Chaos Crystals trembled slightly and floated in the air with the laws of chaos. Then, the two Chaos Crystals melted like ice and turned into liquid. Finally, they turned into two streams of air. Chaos Qi. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Back then, he had fused a stream of Chaos Qi into his body. Naturally, he could tell at a glance that these two streams of Qi were also Chaos Qi. Then he'll refine two more. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. With a thought, he controlled the Chaos Laws and guided the Chaos Qi into his body. Lu Ming's physical body had already refined a stream of Chaos Qi. It was very compatible with the Chaos Qi and there was no difficulty in refining it. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Pao Pao had already recovered. She stayed at the entrance of the cave to protect Lu Ming. In the past few days, terrifying roars would ring out from the depths of the cave from time to time, accompanied by the sound of iron chains clashing. It was as if a supreme great demon was locked down below and was struggling to escape. Lu Ming turned a deaf ear to all of this. He was focused on refining the Chaos Qi. In 3 days, the two wisps of Chaos Qi had been completely refined into Lu Ming's body. They seeped into his muscles, bones, blood, and permeated every part of his body. The strength of Lu Ming's physical body had greatly improved and was even more tyrannical. His body seemed to have a layer of hazy light. With a thought, it would become as heavy as a mountain, indestructible and firm. Buzz! At that moment, his body seemed to resonate with the laws of chaos. When a warrior reached the 3rd stage of the half-saint realm, he would be able to infuse his body with the laws. The laws would be highly compatible with his body. The laws would be contained in his body, which would increase the strength of his body. At this moment, the chaos laws were constantly surging into Lu Ming's body. His body was numb, as if a terrifying power was about to be born. Buzz! Not long after, a ray of light emerged from Lu Ming's body. Light of chaos, chirp chirp. At the side, Pao Pao blinked her large eyes, revealing a look of joy. Lu Ming was refining 2 wisps of chaotic qi. In addition to the previous one, he had 3 wisps of chaotic qi in total, which greatly strengthened his spirit body. He also took advantage of the momentum and resonated with the laws of chaos, refining the light of chaos in one fell swoop. The light of chaos was faint at first, but as time passed, its color became darker and darker. Finally, it turned into a ray of light of chaotic colors that surrounded Lu Ming. After a while, Lu Ming opened his eyes and the light of chaos was retracted into his body. My Buddha's strength has increased by another level. Lu Ming sensed it carefully and his eyes flashed. He had not expected that the chaos gem he had bought unintentionally back then would actually allow him to refine the light of chaos. It was truly a great opportunity. If he did not have the 2 strands of chaotic qi, He did not know when he would be able to refine the chaotic light. This time, although his cultivation did not advance, his combat strength had soared. Roar! Roar! At this moment, a terrifying roar sounded outside the cave. Gusts of strong wind whistled out from the depths of the cave. Clang, clang, clang. At the same time, there was the sound of iron chains colliding. Lu Ming's expression turned serious. He could not help but think of the Divine Time Island. On the Divine Time Island, there was also a gigantic living being sealed within. It was chained up and was incomparably powerful and unfathomable. The clanking of chains could be heard from this place as well. Could it be that there was a supreme expert sealed beneath the cavern, just like the Divine Time Island? The voice roared for a while before it stopped. Lu Ming and Bubbles walked to the entrance of the cave and looked outside. They saw some figures leaping out of the caves and onto the stone bridges. With the help of the stone bridges, they went down. Boom! Boom! Suddenly, there was a roar from the bottom of the cave. At the same time, a dazzling light burst out and shot into the sky. There were people fighting in the cave. Lu Ming could not help but channel the holy power into his eyes. His vision instantly improved and he looked down into the cave. This way, the scenery at the bottom of the cave became clear. At the bottom of the cave there was a huge platform. In the middle of the platform there was a palace. Around the platform, there were 4 stone bridges that were connected to the walls of the cave. At this moment, there was a group of people fighting on the platform. Phoenix Spirit, Long Chen. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed, and a murderous intent flashed in them. At that moment, Huang Ling, Long Chen, and a few elders, who should be Emperor-to-be experts of Phoenix Palace and Divine Elephant Sect, were being besieged by a group of people. Lu Ming could tell at a glance that they were from the Hang family because they used the Eternal Spring Law. At this moment, Feng Ling, Long Chen, and the others were in danger. They were surrounded by the other party. There were more people on the other side, and they were all Emperor-to-be, 6 of them. On the other hand, there were only 3 Emperors-to-be in Huang Ling's group. There was still a gap between Huang Ling and Long Chen's combat strength and an Emperor-to-bes. Kill these 3 old guys first. Leave the 2 younger ones behind. These 2 have a close relationship with Lu Ming. Leave them behind and ask Lu Ming to exchange the Celestial the Arch Sword for them. He ordered. One of the Heng family members said coldly. Their attacks were like a storm, heading toward the 3 Emperor-to-be from Phoenix Palace and Divine Elephant Sect. As for Feng Ling and Long Chen, they only had to restrain them. A burly elder of the Divine Elephant Sect had his dantian pierced through by a sword from an Emperor-to-be of the Heng family. The elder roared and fought back with all his might, striking his opponent with a palm. However, the opponent quickly retreated after being stabbed. The burly elder of the Divine Elephant Sect's final counterattack before his death only slightly injured him, not seriously injuring him. Long Chen, you guys must get out of here, die! The tall and sturdy elder of the Divine Elephant Sect roared in anger. His body fell heavily to the ground and he stopped breathing. Damn it! Long Chen roared, his eyes bloodshot. Haha, one really want to rush out. Dream on! One of the Emperor-to-be from the Hang family sneered. He strode forward and attacked Huang Ling with a terrifying force. He wanted to take her down. At this moment, a transparent bubble suddenly appeared and enveloped him. His body froze. Then, a prison-suppressing steel fell from the sky and hit his body. Bang! The body of this Emperor-to-be from the Hang family was torn into pieces. Chapter 1965. Killing the Han clan Emperor-to-be in succession. A phantom of the prison-suppressing steel fell from the sky and shattered an Emperor-to-be of the Heng family. Then, a young figure landed in front of Feng Ling and Long Chen. The figure was, of course, Lu Ming. Seeing that Huang Ling and Long Chen were surrounded by the Heng family's Emperor-to-be, Lu Ming used the stone bridge to rush over. Lu Ming! Huang Ling and Long Chen were overjoyed to see Lu Ming. It's Lu Ming! The Emperor-to-be of the Heng family was shocked. Hung clan kill! Lu Ming shouted, his killing intent surging out like a tide. Haha, you want to kill us? Lu Ming, you've come at the right time. 111 finish you off and take back the Celestial the Arch Sword. That's right, it really didn't take much effort to find it after searching high and low. The Emperor-to-be from the Hang family sneered and felt happy. This time, the Hang family had 2 missions in the Lotus World. The first was to explore the ruins left behind by the Celestial Emperor. The second was to kill Lu Ming and retrieve the Celestial Emperor's sword. They were looking for Lu Ming, but they did not expect Lu Ming to deliver himself to them. Lu Ming, you have to be careful. They have a very powerful person. Let's charge out together. Huang Ling sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming. Very strong, I'd like to try. Lu Ming's eyes glowed even more sharply. He just so happened to have refined 2 wisps of chaotic qi and the chaotic light. His strength had greatly increased, and he wanted to see how strong he was. You guys keep an eye on that little girl who can control the space-time law. Leave Lu Ming to me. A burly emperor-to-be from the Han family stepped toward Lu Ming. The other emperor-to-be from the Han family locked onto Bubbles to prevent her from helping. Boom! The burly emperor-to-be from the Han family threw a punch at Lu Ming. The moment he punched, the river of laws surrounded his fist, making the power of the punch even more shocking. If anyone below emperor-to-be was hit by this punch, they would be crushed into pieces. However, Lu Ming was not an ordinary martial artist. Boom! Lu Ming also threw a punch and used the prison-suppressing heavenly art. This punch did not produce the illusion of the prison-suppressing steel. Instead, it contained the power of the prison-suppressing steel in his fist. Boom! Lu Ming's fist collided with his opponent's fist. Kacha! Then, the sound of bones breaking could be heard. The fist of the burly emperor-to-be from the Han family exploded, and he was forced to retreat by a terrifying force. How can he be this strong? The burly emperor-to-be of the Han family roared in disbelief. In the punch just now, he felt that Lu Ming's fist was filled with terrifying power. It was simply indestructible. Die! Lu Ming took a step forward and chased after the man. He threw another punch, which caused the space to shake. The expression of the burly emperor-to-be from the Han family changed and he retreated frantically. Let me do it! A skinny middle-aged man from the Han family's emperor-to-be suddenly appeared in front of Lu Ming and threw a punch at him. Boom! There was a terrifying vibration. Lu Ming and the other party's bodies shook at the same time and they took a few steps back. An emperor-to-be with a superior heavenly spiritual body? Lu Ming squinted his eyes slightly, revealing a strong fighting spirit. Previously, he had encountered people from the Daluo Heaven sect and the Wind race in the Void Turbulence. One of them was an emperor-to-be with a superior grade heaven spiritual body. He was very powerful and Lu Ming was completely suppressed. This thin middle-aged man was also such a figure, and his combat strength was far beyond that of an ordinary emperor-to-be. If you have some strength, come again. The skinny emperor-to-be was called Hang Shi. When he was young, he was also a genius of the Han family. At this moment, he stepped forward with a combat sword in his hand. The sword chi was like a rainbow as he slashed at Lu Ming. It was a monarch weapon. Lu Ming's glabella glowed and the Dian elixir furnace flew out. Lu Ming grabbed one of its legs and swung it at the other party. Boom! Boom! With a few consecutive explosions, the two of them collided, but it was difficult to determine the winner. The emperor-to-be from the Han family and the Phoenix Palace were shocked. Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the upper tier of the Absolute Saint realm, but his combat strength was too shocking. He could actually fight with an emperor-to-be with a superior grade heavenly spiritual body. Hang Shi was also extremely shocked. Kill! He roared and circulated all his strength to the extreme. His combat sword was like a rainbow, slashing at Lu Ming continuously. Thousands of sword lights broke through the air. Buzz! At this moment, a ray of light emanated from Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's strength increased greatly as soon as the ray of light was cast. The Dian elixir furnace was like a giant hammer, constantly smashing at the other party. Boom! Boom! After 2 consecutive moves, Hang Shi's body trembled and he retreated a few steps. Light of Chaos! Eternium roared. Once a son of chaos refined the light of chaos, his combat power would increase greatly. In the past, among the children of heaven in the Yuan mountain, only the Hangxing River could refine the light of law. Now, Lu Ming had also refined it. Lu Ming picked up the Dian elixir furnace and launched an extremely violent attack, constantly bombarding his opponent. In the process of bombarding, Lu Ming suddenly pointed out a chaos finger of tribulation. Boom! The Eternium was forced back by the primal chaos tribulation finger, and it spat out a mouthful of blood. Retreat! Hang Shi suddenly roared and retreated. He had already understood that he was not Lu Ming's match. If they continued to fight, they would be in danger. Bubble attack! Attack together! Lu Ming shouted. Toot! Bubbles came out of Bubbles and covered the 5 emperor-to-be from the Han family. Boom! Lu Ming picked up the Dian elixir furnace and smashed it at one of the Emperor-to-be. Lu Ming's ability had a crushing advantage over ordinary Emperor-to-be, not to mention that he had Bubble's help. Without a doubt, the Emperor-to-be was killed by Lu Ming in one move. At the same time, Huang Ling, Long Chen, and the two Emperor-to-be from the Phoenix Palace attacked the two Emperor-to-be from the Heng family and injured them. Boom! Lu Ming picked up the Dian elixir furnace and smashed it again, killing an Emperor-to-be. Since Lu Ming's arrival, 3 of the 6 Emperor-to-be from the Heng family had been killed. There were 3 left. One was an eternal stone, and the other 2 were injured by Huang Ling and the others. Bang! At this moment, the Eternium burst out with all its power and pierced through the transparent bubble. He did not dare to stop at all. He took a step and his body soared into the sky, rushing to the stone bridge above. You want to leave? Lu Ming's eyes turned cold and he was about to pursue. Roar! Another terrifying roar came from the bottom of the cave. A terrifying devouring force erupted from below, causing Lu Ming's expression to change and he stopped his pursuit. Heng Shi was overjoyed. The heavens were really helping him. After the roar stopped, the Eternium continued to rush up at an amazing speed. In the blink of an eye, it crossed several stone bridges and then turned into a ray of light and flew out of the cave. Lu Ming, let us go. A loud roar was heard. There were 2 Emperor-to-be left in the Heng family, and they were trapped by the bubble space-time law. One of them shouted, "Let you go? How can you be so naive?" Even Lu Ming was slightly stunned. Under such circumstances, the other party actually asked him to let them go. Was there something wrong with his brain? Chapter 1966. Chapter 1966 Core Area Lu Ming. Now that Heng Shi has escaped, the fact that you killed our Heng family's Emperor-to-be will be exposed. The Heng family will not let you off. If you let us go now, you can reduce your sins. One of the Emperor-to-be from the Heng family spoke. His voice filled with arrogance. Reduce my sins? Why are you so funny? Lu Ming was speechless. This person from the Heng family was too self-righteous, right? Furthermore, the Heng family has never considered letting me go. It would be a waste not to kill the Heng family members. Lu Ming said indifferently. Then, a combat sword appeared in his hand. He slashed out and killed an Emperor-to-be. The remaining Emperor-to-be's face turned pale. The Heng family was a great emperor force with a great emperor overseeing it. They were high above the entire Yuan mountain and were one of the peak forces. Normally, there were not many forces that dared to go against the Heng family, and there were not many forces that didn't care about the Heng family. He had thought that since the Eternium had escaped, Lu Ming would most likely have some reservations. However, he did not expect Lu Ming to be so decisive and merciless. No, please spare me. The Emperor-to-be of the Heng family was scared and started to beg for mercy. Hee. Is this the pride of the Heng family? Was this the pride of a great emperor? After your threat failed, you immediately begged for mercy. What a joke. Lu Ming sneered. The Emperor-to-be from the Heng clan had an ugly look on his face, but in the face of life and death, everything was meaningless. He continued, Lu Ming, as long as you let me go, I'll do anything you want. No need. 111 be worried if I leave someone like you alive. Kill him. Lu Ming was very decisive. He slashed with his sword and killed the person. So what if one of them ran away? He and the Heng family couldn't alleviate the situation anyway. So what was there to be afraid of? Lu Ming, you've already refined the light of chaos. Huang Ling and Long Chen walked over with surprise and joy on their faces. The more powerful Lu Ming was, the happier they would be. Lu Ming nodded and looked around. They were not the only ones nearby. There were others who were looking at Lu Ming with a grave expression. The combat strength that Lu Ming had displayed just now had shocked them. Lu Ming looked around and realized that they were on a platform. In the middle of the platform was a hall with staircases in all 4 directions leading to the hall. At this moment, many people were climbing up the stairs towards the palace. However, as long as someone stepped onto the stairs, there would be flames on the stairs, blocking everyone's way. Even an Emperor-to-be would find it difficult to climb the stairs. Lu Ming, this is the core of the ruins. I don't know if there are any treasures in the hall, but we can't fly up. We can only go up along the stairs. However, there's a terrifying formation on the stairs that blocks the way. Huang Ling explained. The core of the ruins. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. At the core of the Divine Time Island, they had obtained many plants that could increase one's lifespan. They had also obtained the Divine Time Tree. It was because of the Divine Time Tree that Bubbles was able to achieve a breakthrough and cultivate the space-time light. Xueqi's injuries were only temporarily stabilized because of the Divine Time Tree. One could see how precious the Divine Tree of Time was. What was in the core of this place? Let's go up, Lu Ming said. He took the lead and walked up a flight of stairs. Bubbles followed closely behind Lu Ming. Feng Ling and Long Chen, the two emperor-to-be from Phoenix Palace, also stepped forward. As soon as they stepped on the stairs, a terrifying power of fire rushed toward them. However, the flames at the beginning were not a problem for them. They advanced very easily. After stepping halfway through, the power of the flames became stronger and stronger. Moreover, Lu Ming discovered a problem. The power of the flames on the steps seemed to be different according to the cultivation level. The higher the cultivation of the person, the more powerful the flame. For example, the power of the flames that the emperor-to-be faced was much stronger than theirs. Therefore, halfway through, the emperors-to-be couldn't move an inch. If they continued, they felt that they would be burned to ashes by the firepower. However, Lu Ming, Bubbles, Huang Ling, and Long Chen were still able to move forward easily. They didn't stop and kept going up. A moment later, they were on the stairs. So many doors? Huang Ling muttered. This was because the palace here had many doors, a total of 9. Of the 9 doors, 3 were closed, and 6 were open. At this moment, their gazes moved. They saw a young man flying into a door. The moment he entered, the door closed. It's Wei Tiandao. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. They all knew who that young man was. He was Wei Tiandao, who was ranked 4th on the Saint King rankings back in the Yuan Mountain Saint Academy. However, the Saint King ranking had been rearranged, and Wei Tiandao had been pushed down to 8th place. It seems that someone has also entered the 3 closed doors. Long Chen said. There might be opportunities in these doors. Let's each choose one. Lu Ming said. Okay, then we'll choose according to our feelings. Huang Ling nodded. The 4 of them flew forward and each chose a fan. Lu Ming walked towards the door on the far right. He realized that this door seemed to have a special attraction to him. It could make his array Dao laws feel restless. After Bubbles, Feng Ling, and Long Chen each stepped into a door, Lu Ming stepped in as well. After entering the door closed. Lu Ming sized it up carefully. This was a stone room. The stone room was empty and very wide. However, Lu Ming was attracted by the wall of the stone room the moment he entered. The walls of the stone room were carved with dense runes, which were extremely profound. This is runes of formation Dao. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He cultivated array Dao laws and could tell at a glance that these were array Dao runes. Furthermore, they were extremely mysterious. These runes seemed to have formed a secret technique. Lu Ming sized it up for a while and came to a conclusion. He then sat cross-legged and began to comprehend it in detail. At that moment, in Lu Ming's eyes, the runes on the wall seemed to come to life. They combined and transformed into countless possibilities. It was mysterious and unpredictable. He sat there for 3 days. Within 3 days, Lu Ming had engraved all the runes on the 4 walls in his heart. The 9 scrolls of Array Dao. These are actually 2 of the 9 scrolls of Array Dao, the Annihilation Scroll and the Illusionary Spirit Scroll. Lu Ming was extremely shocked. Back when he had obtained the status of the Hunyuan Sect's Gold Inheritor, he had shamelessly asked for the Sealed Scroll, one of the 9 scrolls of Array Dao. Back then, the Hunyuan Sect Elder had told Lu Ming that the 9 scrolls of Array Dao was a supreme secret technique to cultivate the Array Dao laws. However, it had been lost for a long time. He didn't expect that he would come across the other 2 scrolls of the 9 scrolls of Arrays here. The power of a sealed scroll was extremely long and mysterious. During a battle, using a sealed scroll could greatly affect the opponent's combat power. The Annihilation Scroll, on the other hand, could use symbols to form the power of annihilation. Its might was astonishing. The Illusionary Spirit Scroll, on the other hand, used runes to create all sorts of powerful living beings. It was also a secret technique that was extremely powerful. Chapter 1967. The 9th World. Lu Ming immediately closed his eyes and began to comprehend carefully. Cultivation knew no time. A month had passed while Lu Ming was in the process of comprehending the knowledge. Lu Ming already had the foundation of one of the 9 scrolls of the Array Dao, the sealed scroll. Hence, he was able to comprehend the other 2 scrolls very quickly. Lu Ming realized that when he was comprehending the sealed scroll, destruction scroll, and illusionary spirit scroll of the 9 scrolls of the Array Dao could be combined with each other. His comprehension of the Array Dao laws was very fast. Originally, his Array Dao laws maturity had already reached over 80%. In this short month, he had comprehended 3 volumes at once. The speed at which his Array Dao laws improved was simply terrifying. In a short month, it had increased from 80% to 90%. Array Dao laws were King Dao laws. It's really profound. If the 9 scrolls of Array Dao are cultivated to a high level, they can even be fused together, and the power will be even more astonishing. As expected of a supreme secret technique of the Array Dao laws, Lu Ming sighed. It's been a month. It's time to go out. Anyway, I've already remembered it in my heart. One can slowly comprehend it in the future. Lu Ming stood up and walked toward the main door. Miraculously, the door opened automatically when Lu Ming walked to it. When Lu Ming walked out, the door closed again. Closed? Could it be that only one person can enter through each door, and the people behind can't? Lu Ming was a little surprised. Lu Ming! Brother Lu Ming! At this moment, a few cries could be heard as Feng Ling, Long Chen, and Bubbles walked over. You guys came out long ago? Lu Ming asked curiously. Then, his eyes lit up and he looked at Feng Ling and Long Chen. Your cultivation has increased? He realized that Huang Ling and Long Chen had both reached the pinnacle of the Absolute Saint realm. However, Bubbles' cultivation seemed to still be at the late-stage Absolute Saint realm. She hadn't broken through yet, and it was unknown what kind of fortune she had obtained. We obtained an opportunity in that secret chamber and made a breakthrough in our cultivation. However, this secret chamber can only be used once before it is closed. Said Huang Ling. Lu Ming swept his gaze over and realized that the 9 doors were all closed. It was obvious that someone had gone in. Lu Ming, what did you get? Huang Ling asked curiously. A secret technique, Lu Ming said. He then looked at Bubbles and said, Bubble, what did you get? A kind of treasure. As for what it is, I won't tell you. Chirp chirp, Bubbles said in a mysterious manner. You little rascal. Lu Ming smiled. Let's leave this place, Lu Ming said. From time to time, roars could be heard coming from the cave. Who knew if that powerful existence would cause any trouble? It was better to leave first. Huang Ling and the others nodded. When the roars stopped, they took the opportunity to fly up and cross the stone bridge above. Then, they found the right time and kept going up. Not long after, they rushed out of the cave. In this area, there were other people who saw Lu Ming and the rest coming out of the stone room. Their eyes were filled with greed, but no one dared to take any action. Lu Ming and the rest were definitely powerful. By the way, were you in this world when you first came in? Lu Ming asked after they left the cave. Yes, we have been exploring the Myriad beast realm, but unfortunately, we have not gained much. Long Chen nodded. Do you know where the entrance to the next world is? Lu Ming asked. Yes, we've asked around. We were planning to explore other worlds after we finished exploring. Said Huang Ling, all right, let's go to the next world. Lu Ming said. Everyone immediately flew in one direction. The Myriad Beast Realm and the Myriad Sea Realm were completely different. The Myriad Sea Realm was full of vast oceans, while the Myriad Beast Realm was full of wild mountains. Lu Ming, Bubbles, Feng Ling, Long Chen, and the 2 Emperor-to-be from the Phoenix Palace flew all the way. After a few days, they arrived at the border of the Myriad Beast Realm. Here, there was also a void turbulence. Huang Ling and Long Chen took out their monarch weapons to resist the turbulence and the crowd stepped into the void. Along the way, they met other people who were rushing to the Myriad Beast Realm. After a period of time, they passed through the turbulent flow of the void and arrived at another world. There were also human martialists in this world. They had asked around and found that there was indeed a huge historical site in this world that had been passed down since ancient times. They headed in the direction of the ruins. However, they met a few familiar faces along the way. Ouyang Wushuang, Desolate Power, and some Emperor-to-be powerhouses from the Abyss Empire. Ouyang Wushuang and the rest were pleasantly surprised to meet Lu Ming and the others. Lu Ming, you're going to the legacy site, right? Ouyang Wushuang asked. Not bad. Lu Ming nodded. There's no need to go to that ruin. It has already been explored. We just came out of that ruin. Ouyang Wushuang asked. We are from the Myriad Beast Realm. Lu Ming said. From the Myriad Beast Realm? It seems that the 8 worlds have almost been explored. Ouyang Wushuang's expression changed. Then, he began to talk about their experiences and the news they had heard. It turned out that Ouyang Wushuang and the others had already explored a few worlds. Moreover, they had also heard that the remains of the other worlds had almost been completely explored. Now, everyone is heading toward the 9th world. Ouyang Wushuang said. The 9th world. Lu Ming's heart stirred. The world of the lotus flower had 9 petals, representing 9 worlds. When they first entered, Lu Ming observed that everyone would be attracted to different petals. However, there was only one petal and no one else. Lu Ming felt that there must be something unusual. One heard that someone saw a legend in one of the worlds. The 9th world contains a big secret, and there is only one way to the 9th world, which is the Heaven Abyss of the Heaven Abyss realm. I heard that many powerful forces are heading to the Heaven Abyss realm, such as the Hang Star River and the Hang family, the He family, the Daluo Heaven sect, and so on. Ouyang Wushuang said. Since that's the case, well, go too. Lu Ming said. The 9th world should have an extraordinary secret that should not be missed. Moreover, there were some scores that needed to be settled. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a cold glint. Ouyang Wushuang nodded. Immediately, everyone changed direction and headed toward the deep heaven world. He couldn't reach the heavenly abyss world directly from this world. He had to go through the other 2 worlds. They crossed several worlds and flew for a long time. After more than 10 days, they finally arrived at the deep heaven world. The heavenly abyss of the heavenly abyss realm was the most famous miracle in the heavenly abyss realm. It was easy to find out about it by asking around. The heavenly abyss was in the north of the heavenly abyss realm. Everyone headed toward the heavenly abyss. The heavenly abyss was a deep abyss that stretched across the edge of the heavenly abyss world. No one knew how long, deep, or wide it was. From a distance, it looked as if this sky abyss had been cut out by a sword. Chapter 1968. Meeting the Eternal Star River again. It was said that on the other side of the heavenly abyss was another world. It was the legendary 9th world, the world where the undying lived. At this moment, many figures were gathered at the edge of the heavenly abyss. These people were all experts from various forces in the outside world. Most of them were Emperor-to-be. There were also some heaven's favorites with monarch weapons who could also pass through the spatial turbulence. On the edge of the heavenly abyss, there was a huge platform that seemed to be built with some kind of huge stone. In the middle of the platform, there was a huge altar. Around the altar, there were dense inscriptions. In front of the altar, there was a young figure sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed. However, everyone seemed to be afraid of this figure, and no one dared to approach the platform. Because this person was the stellar river. The eternal sun, Hung Xinghe, was too terrifying. Previously, there was an emperor-to-be who had disrespected him and was killed by him in seconds. Even if the other party had many emperor-to-be experts, they were still far from being a match for the Star River. An emperor-to-be could only be killed in seconds in the face of the galaxy. He couldn't even withstand one move. What was shocking was that his cultivation in the Xing River realm had yet to reach the emperor-to-be realm. Moreover, there were also emperor-to-be experts from the Hang family. Therefore, the stellar river occupied the ancient platform that looked very important, and the others could only watch from the outside. Of course, there were also people with killing intent in their eyes, and that was the He family. They wished they could kill the galaxy, but they were no match for the galaxy here. They could only hide far away, not daring to get close. Young Master Xinghe, you've been studying it for days. Do you know how to cross this abyss and head to the 9th world? Finally, someone asked. Xinghe didn't make a sound, as if he was ignoring that person. It was only after a long while that Xinghe opened his mouth and said, I already know the method. Many people's eyes lit up. What method is it? Someone asked. It's not the time to say it yet. In the galaxy. If it's not time to say it, then when will it be time to say it? The man asked. Are you questioning me? Xingchen suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were like 2 divine swords, piercing toward the man. The man was shocked as he felt a cold killing intent covering him. He couldn't help but retreat. His face turned pale and he quickly said, One don't dare, one don't dare. I'll naturally say it when I should. After saying that, The eternal star river closed its eyes again. The person from before heaved a long sigh of relief, but his back was already drenched in cold sweat. The eternal sun is too terrifying. He's not even an emperor-to-be, but he's already so terrifying. If he becomes an emperor-to-be, he'll be able to compete with martial sovereigns. Many people had the same thought and were shocked. The people of the He family looked gloomy. A chosen like the eternal sun was a disaster for the He clan. In the future, if the Heng family's two great emperors joined forces and the Heng family broke through to the great emperor realm, the He family would definitely be destroyed. Therefore, the people of the He family were thinking about how to get rid of the Star River. Time passed by quickly. In the blink of an eye, a few days had passed. On this day, the Star River that had been sitting there suddenly opened its eyes and looked into the distance. Its eyes were sharp as it muttered, "It's finally here." Everyone was shocked. They're finally here. Who's here? Everyone's gaze followed the direction of the stellar river, and saw a group of people walking in the air. They were led by a few young men. "It's Lu Ming, the son of chaos, Lu Ming." Someone exclaimed in a low voice as he recognized Lu Ming. This made many people's hearts tremble. Could it be that the eternal Star River had been waiting here all this while for Lu Ming? Buzz! The Star River rose and took a step forward, heading toward Lu Ming. At the same time, the Heng family's experts also followed beside the Heng family. Not far away, Lu Ming, Feng Ling, Long Chen, and the rest stopped. "Lu Ming, you're finally here. I've been waiting for you for a long time," said Xing Chen indifferently. "Is that so?" Lu Ming's expression was calm. He knew that he would face the stellar river when he came here. "Lu Ming, you killed the emperor-to-be of the Heng family. Today, I'll use your blood to pay tribute to them." Behind the Star River, a figure shouted. It was an eternal stone. "They wanted to kill me, so why can't one fight back?" Lu Ming asked. "Of course you can. In the world of martial Tao, everything is decided by strength. Those who are strong live, and those who are weak die. They're not as strong as you, so they deserve to die." Xing Chen said indifferently as if he didn't care about the death of a few emperor-to-be from the Heng family. "However, they're from the Heng family, and so am one. You killed them, so I'm going to kill you. Lu Ming, hand over the Celestial Emperor's sword and I'll give you a quick death." The galaxy continued. "Heng Xinghe, I knew you were here for the sword of Celestial Emperor. Back then, you couldn't do anything to me in the Yuan Mountain Saint Academy. Today, you can't do anything to me either," Lu Ming said. His eyes slowly filled with fighting spirit. "This place isn't the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy," Heng Shan said coldly. His meaning was clear. Back then at the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy, Lu Ming had fought alongside many experts in the Hangxing River. However, today, there were experts from the Heng family here. They would not let Lu Ming and the others have this chance. Boom! Boom! The Heng family had been around for countless years and was an emperor-level power with too many experts. There were more than 100 emperor-to-be here today. When they gathered together, their momentum was terrifying. A terrifying aura pressed down on Lu Ming and the rest, causing their expressions to change. "We're here to help you." Not far away, a voice could be heard. A group of people came behind Lu Ming and the others. They were the emperor-to-be of Phoenix Palace, Divine Elephant Sect, Thunder God Sect, and other forces. "We are your opponents." A cold voice rang out. A giant wolf stepped in the air, a golden crow let out a long cry, and the chi of a combat weapon soared into the sky. The emperor-to-be from the Golden Crow clan, the Sirius Tower, the Wan family, the Purple Extreme Sect, and other forces stepped on the air and pressed toward Lu Ming and the others. "Lu Ming, let me help you." A beautiful woman came to Lu Ming's side with a group of experts. It was Luo Tianyi and the emperor-to-be of the Jade Pool Immortal Palace. Following that, many scattered experts joined Lu Ming and the rest. For example, the emperor-to-be of the Shenyuan Empire and other sections. Even so, Lu Ming and the rest were far from capable. Most of the forces on Lu Ming's side were from the ancient Moon Holy Land. At most, they could only compete with the Golden Crow clan and the Sirius Tower, which were also forces from the ancient Moon Holy Land. Even with the addition of the Shenyuan Empire, it would be useless. Hee, it's really lively. Lu Ming, one have to say that you're really lucky. With a sneer, Luo Congqiong led the powerhouses of the Daluo Heaven sect to the side of the Heng family's powerhouse. Then, The masters of the wind race also came to the side of the Daluo Heaven sect. On Lu Ming's side, many people's expressions changed. The other party was too powerful. The difference in strength between the two sides was too great. Chapter 1969. Blood sacrifice to the bridge. The Heng family and the Daluo Heaven sect were both emperor-level forces. They had many more experts than Lu Ming and the others. Moreover, the Wind Clan, the Golden Crow Clan, the Wan family, and other forces had gathered. Many emperor-to-be surrounded by the river of laws made them look like gods in the sky. Their terrifying aura pressed toward Lu Ming and the rest like a mountain. Behind Lu Ming, everyone stood in a defensive circle, their expressions grave. Around them, many people were watching with different expressions. Some people sneered. Take the He family for example. They did not have a good impression of either Lu Ming or the Heng family. It was best to kill each other. As for the people from the Soul Divine Temple, they stood in the distance and did not interfere. Although Xueqi and Lu Ming were very close, Xueqi only represented her lineage in the Soul Divine Temple. Moreover, he had not seen Xueqi yet. Lu Ming is going to die today. I've expected this. How dare he go against emperor-level forces like the Heng family and the Daluo Heaven sect? Hee. Yu Shu sneered in the crowd, gloating over his misfortune. The young geniuses from the Purple Flame Villa had complicated expressions on their faces. There were a few young men in the Purple Flame Villa who had lost a bet to Lu Ming and had to listen to his orders. But now, in the face of so many masters from the Heng family and the Daluo Heaven sect, they could only choose to ignore them and pretend that they did not see anything. It was because it would be a dead end if they went there. Moreover, the emperor-to-be in the Purple Flame Villa would not listen to their orders. Damn it, they are relying on their numbers. It's a pity that our desolate race has not appeared. If not, we would have gathered a bunch of emperor-to-be. We would have hammered them to death. Desolate Li growled. He was very unhappy. It's just a battle, said Long Chen. He looked ordinary, but he was filled with fighting spirit. Why should a man be afraid of a battle? Don't you all want to know how to pass through this abyss and head to the ninth world? At this moment, the emotionless voice of the galaxy rang. Many people were shocked. Was the galaxy finally going to say something? If you want to cross the other side of the abyss, you have to open the abyssal bridge. The way to open the abyssal bridge is very simple, which is to sacrifice the bridge with blood. With the blood of many experts, you can open the abyssal bridge and lead to the ninth world. The voice of the galaxy spread far and wide. Many people's hearts trembled again. They actually had to sacrifice the blood of experts to the bridge in order to reach the ninth world. How much blood do you need? Someone asked in a serious tone. I don't know. Naturally, the more the better. The Eternal Star River Channel then looked at Lu Ming and the rest. A cold killing intent burst out. Today, 111 use your blood as a sacrifice to the bridge. Boom, boom, boom. As soon as he finished speaking, the powerhouses of the Heng family, the Daluo Heaven sect, and other forces stepped out. The river of laws surrounded them, and their saint power burst out like a tide. Today, they wanted Lu Ming and the rest to stay here. You guys focus on defense. Leave the stellar river to me. Lu Ming's voice spread to the ears of Huang Ling and the rest. Then, Lu Ming's glabella glowed and the Dian elixir furnace flew out, turning into the size of a mountain. However, the Dian elixir furnace did not float above Lu Ming's head. Instead, it flew towards Huang Ling and the rest before it landed on the ground with a loud thud. The Da Yen elixir furnace had 4 legs and was lifted high up. Huang Ling and the rest were all below the furnace. The Da Yen cauldron was the most important treasure of the Da Yen elixir palace. Its grade was far above ordinary monarch weapons. With that, Feng Ling, Long Chen and the rest only had to defend the surroundings. They didn't have to worry about the top. This way, their defensive power would increase greatly. Bubble, go help Huang Ling and the rest. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Bubbles. Brother Lu Ming, be careful, Xueqi. Bubbles cried out and charged towards Feng Ling, Long Chen, and the others. You guys deal with the others. Leave Lu Ming to me. The galaxy said coldly. The powerful engine locked onto Lu Ming. Kill. Hiding under a pill furnace means death as well. The emperor-to-be experts of the Heng family, Daluo Heaven sect, and Golden Crow clan stepped into the air and attacked Feng Ling, Long Chen, and Bubbles from all directions. On Huang Ling's side, there were only dozens of emperors-to-be, much less than the other side. They could only gather together to defend. All sorts of defensive saint weapons and sovereign weapons were everywhere. At the same time, bubbles attacked. The space around them distorted, forming mirror-like spatial shields that blocked in all directions. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Hundreds of attacks fell on Huang Ling and the others, some of which were blocked by the Dian elixir furnace. At this moment, Lu Ming had already cut off his connection with the Dian elixir furnace. Otherwise, the terrifying force would have followed the Dian elixir furnace and injured Lu Ming. At this moment, the Da Yen elixir furnace was only relying on its own solid and immortal characteristics to resist the attacks around it. As expected, the attacks were all blocked by the Great Yen elixir furnace. The rest of the attacks were blocked by Feng Ling and Long Chen. After all, although the other party had a lot of people, they didn't have many angles to attack under the cover of the Da Yen elixir furnace. Continue, kill! An expert from the Hang family roared and attacked Huang Ling and the others. Allah! At this moment, a shrill scream erupted from the crowd in the distance. Someone had suddenly attacked and killed an expert. What are you guys doing? You're looking for death. Someone shouted. Sacrifice your blood to the bridge. Someone coldly spoke. Then I'll use your blood as a sacrifice to the bridge. And NBSP, let's go. The person from before shouted, and a huge battle immediately broke out in that area. There were many forces here who had grudges with each other. The chaos in that area seemed to affect the whole world. Those forces who had grudges with each other also began to fight. Since he wanted to sacrifice the bridge with the blood of experts, he might as well use the blood of his enemies. Therefore, a war broke out inevitably, and the scope of the war was getting wider and wider. Soon, the four sides were in chaos and wars were everywhere. Lu Ming and the galaxy stood in the air, facing each other. Lu Ming, no one will help you today. You'll only die. Hand over the celestial thearch's sword and 111 leave your corpse intact, said Xing Chen coldly. Long time no see. Your cultivation is still in the great circle of the absolute saint realm. Do you think you can kill me? Lu Ming sneered. There are also strong and weak absolute saints in the great circle of the absolute saint realm. Xing He said calmly. His cultivation base was indeed the same as when he fought with Lu Ming and the others. He was still in the perfected absolute saint realm. The main thing was that to break through to the Emperor to be realm from the perfection of an absolute saint, one had to cultivate a law to perfection. However, the further one advanced, the harder it would be to cultivate. This was especially true when he trained in the eternal laws. However, even at the perfected absolute saint realm, there were weak and strong nomological laws. The maturity of the nomological laws in the eternal Star River had reached 99%. He was much stronger than when he was fighting with Lu Ming and the rest. Boom! A shocking aura burst out from the body of the galaxy. At the same time, a ring of light surrounded the galaxy, making him look like a god. This was the eternal light. Whoosh! A terrifying sword light bloomed from Xing Chen's hand. Chapter 1970. Chapter 1970 Improved combat power. The galaxy raised its aura to the maximum and the eternal light bloomed. It was about to attack Lu Ming. At this moment, a blade light crossed the void and slashed down at the Star River. This blade light was filled with the aura of death. When the saber light slashed down, everything was destroyed. Xing Chen's eyes narrowed. He waved his hand and slashed out a shocking sword radiance, which clashed with the saber radiance. Buzz! A terrifying, ear-piercing sound rang out. Endless blade light and sword chi swept in all directions. Xing Chen's figure shook slightly and he took a step back. A figure appeared in the sky. He carried a saber on his back and his hair was dancing wildly. It was the Death Blade. At that moment, his aura was extremely shocking. He had also reached the perfected absolute saint realm. Furthermore, there was also a halo around him. It was the light of death. Clearly, the Death Blade had also obtained a great opportunity during this period of time and made great progress. Not only did it have a breakthrough in its cultivation, but it had also refined the light of death. Star River, your opponent is me. The Death Blade stepped through the air and stood in front of the Star River. Death Blade, you again. Killing intent bloomed in Xing He's eyes, and he said, Death Blade, although you've reached the peak of the absolute saint realm and cultivated the light of death, you're still no match for me. Not your match? You'll know once you try. Death Heavenly Blade. The Death Blade was very direct. As soon as he finished speaking, He attacked. The battle blade on his back was unsheathed, and the terrifying death blade light slashed toward the Star River. Xing Chen's eyes turned serious. A combat sword appeared in his hand. Although he sounded very confident, he didn't dare to be careless in the face of the death blade. The death blade was the child of death, and now, he had cultivated the light of death and entered the perfected absolute saint realm. They were at the same level, so he couldn't be careless. A dazzling sword radiance burst forth, as if it was going to pierce through heaven and earth. Boom! 2 figures, 2 sword lights and 2 blade lights collided, and a dazzling light burst out between heaven and earth. The eternal Star River and the Death Blade were engaged in a fierce battle. The momentum was terrifying, and no one dared to stand within a radius of hundreds of miles for fear of being dragged in. In the blink of an eye, the two exchanged dozens of moves and were evenly matched. Lu Ming was speechless. He had wanted to have a big fight with the galaxy. However, it was good that the Death Blade had made a move. He had to block the galaxy first as he still had things to do. Lu Ming's figure moved and he dashed in one direction at top speed. That direction was where the Daluo Heaven sect was located. At this time, many Emperor-to-be of the Daluo Heaven sect were attacking Huang Ling, Long Chen, and the others. The number of Emperor-to-be from the Daluo Heaven sect was also shocking. Although it was less than the Heng family, there were still nearly 100 people. At this moment, Luo Congqiong was standing in the void with a huge seal in his hand. It was the divine seal of deprivation. The divine seal of deprivation could continuously deprive the energy in space. The longer it was deprived, the more energy it would accumulate, and the more terrifying its power would be. At this moment, Luo Congqiong was constantly snatching the energy until he reached the limit of his control before he made his move. Die! Luo Congqiong roared. He pushed out the divine seal of deprivation with his palm. It was like a mountain, crashing forward. However, Lu Ming suddenly appeared in front of the divine seal of deprivation and pointed his finger. And NBSP, the primal chaos tribulation finger, exploded, striking the divine seal of deprivation. Boom! A deafening boom was heard. The divine seal of deprivation was destroyed and Lu Ming's figure drifted backward for a distance. The power of Luo Congqiong's divine seal of deprivation, after he had accumulated power, was indeed terrifying. Even with Lu Ming's current combat strength, he was still forced back. However, he was only forced back. Lu Ming, you're actually able to block my divine seal of deprivation. Luo Congqiong cried out in disbelief. After a long time of accumulation, he had deprived a large amount of energy of that move. Its power had reached a shocking level. An ordinary Emperor-to-be would not be able to withstand it and would be killed easily. But now, Lu Ming had actually blocked it head-on. How could he not be shocked? Luo Congqiong, I'm going to take your life today. Lu Ming said coldly. Qiu Yu was still unconscious from her serious injuries. He would not let Luo Congqiong go. Even if the other party was the great emperor's grandson, it was the same. Lu Ming stepped into the void and charged towards Luo Congqiong. Luo Congqiong was shocked and could not help but retreat. Lu Ming, you managed to escape last time. I'll kill you again. A burly figure appeared in front of Lu Ming with a giant hammer in his hand. This person was the expert who had fought with Lu Ming in the void turbulence. He had a superior grade celestial spiritual body and was very powerful. Previously, Lu Ming was completely suppressed by the other party. But this time it would not. Kill, die! Lu Ming shouted. His eyes shot out a cold light. At the same time, a ring of light enveloped his body and he pointed his finger. And NBSP, the massive finger of primal chaos tribulation, struck the enemy's hammer, causing it to buzz and be sent flying. Your battle strength. The other party was shocked. After exchanging one move, he could feel that Lu Ming's combat strength was much stronger than the last time. Previously, Lu Ming was at a complete disadvantage when he faced him. However, in the exchange just now, he was actually at a disadvantage. How did Lu Ming's ability improve so much in such a short period of time? Light of Chaos. You've refined the light of chaos. The burly man roared. I'll kill you today. Lu Ming said coldly. He continued to use the chaotic finger of tribulation and pointed. And NBSP, the massive primal chaos tribulation finger, suffused with primal chaos light, suddenly appeared like a god's finger and began to crush down. The burly man let out a low growl and used all his strength to wave his giant hammer to block Lu Ming's attack. However, at this moment, Countless runes appeared in Lu Ming's left hand. A true dragon pounced toward the burly man. This was the illusionary spirit scroll, one of the 9 scrolls of the Tao of formations. Symbols transformed into true dragons, and its power was terrifying. And NBSP, the burly man's giant hammer, collided with the primal chaos tribulation finger. He had used all his strength to block Lu Ming's chaos finger of tribulation. How could he have the energy to block the attack of the Array Tao Law's illusionary spirit scroll? The true dragon pounced on the burly man's body. With a long roar, it clawed down. Bang! The burly man's body trembled violently. With a muffled groan, he retreated rapidly and spat out a large mouthful of blood. Kill! Lu Ming followed up quickly. He waved his palm and a huge shadow of the prison-suppressing steel fell from the sky, pressing down on the burly man. The burly man let out a blood-curdling screech as his body began to crack. It was unknown how many bones in his body had been broken. Then, runes glowed on Lu Ming's left hand and another true dragon flew out. It grabbed the burly man and tore him apart. Sila! Blood splattered everywhere as the burly man's body was torn apart. The burly man, an emperor-to-be with a superior-grade celestial spiritual body, was killed by Lu Ming's series of attacks. The 9 scrolls of Array Tao are indeed profound. If I can fuse the Annihilation Scroll, Illusionary Spirit Scroll, and Sealed Scroll together, the power will increase even more. Lu Ming had an idea. Chapter 1971. Chapter 1971. Killing King Physique. The Array Tao laws could only be used as Lu Ming's support for now. Compared to the Chaos Finger Tribulation, it was still a little weaker. However, if he were to combine the Annihilation Manual, the Illusionary Spirit Manual, and the Sealed Manual together, the power would definitely increase exponentially. One could only imagine how powerful the attack would be if it transformed into a true dragon that contained both the power of destruction and the power of sealing. Lu Ming was looking forward to it. At this moment, Luo Kangqiong's eyes were wide open in disbelief. Lu Ming could actually kill the burly man, who was a top-notch emperor-to-be. Unless one had a king physique, he was invincible among his peers. The fact that Lu Ming could kill such an existence sent chills down his spine. Lu Ming's cold eyes swept towards Luo Congqiong. He did not stop and continued to charge at Luo Congqiong. Men, kill Lu Ming. Kill him. Luo Congqiong roared as he frantically retreated. Luo Pokong also retreated with him. Baz! Baz! And NBSP Wu Shell. In an instant, at least 10 emperor-to-be rushed toward Lu Ming with all kinds of terrifying attacks. However, Lu Ming simply ignored these attacks. His chaotic light surrounded his body, and as he charged forward, all the attacks that landed on his chaotic light were blocked. The light of chaos could be used to attack and defend, and its power was astonishing. Boom, boom, boom. After Lu Ming rushed through the attacks, he threw a few punches in a row. His fist radiance tore through the air and the 3 emperor-to-be exploded in the air. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Immediately after, Lu Ming pointed out the fingers of tribulation of chaos in succession. 6 fingers of tribulation of chaos shot toward the 6 emperor-to-be. Although the power of the 6 fingers had been dispersed, it was enough to deal with an ordinary emperor-to-be. The 6 emperor-to-be were blown away by the 6-finger forces. Their faces were pale and they spat out blood. In the beginning, he killed 3 emperor-to-be, and then he injured 6. This kind of combat strength was shocking. Luo Congqiong and Luo Pokong were even more shocked. The 2 of them retreated frantically. They did not have the courage to fight Lu Ming. However, Luo Congqiong retreated even faster because his cultivation was stronger. You guys can't escape. Let's go, Lu Ming said coldly. He dashed out like a bolt of lightning and avoided several powerhouses of the Daluo Heaven sect. The next moment, Lu Ming caught up to Luo Pokong. Luo Pokong was shocked. The long spear in his hand pierced through the void and went straight for Lu Ming. This was a monarch weapon. Combined with Luo Pokong's law of penetration, its power was indeed terrifying. However, Luo PC's cultivation base was only at the upper tier of the Absolute Saint realm, the same as Lu Ming's. In a battle of the same level, no matter how strong he was not strong enough to face Lu Ming. Lu Ming threw a punch and it hit the tip of the long spear. Luo Pokong's penetration law was useless against Lu Ming. The long spear buzzed and even bent. Then it bounced out fiercely, and the tail of the spear hit Luo Pokong's body. Luo Pokong let out a blood-curdling scream, and his body retreated frantically. In his heart, there was a strong sense of disbelief. He felt like he was dreaming. When he first met Lu Ming had to do his best to defeat him. But now, Lu Ming could defeat him and injure him with a casual move. As time passed, the gap between the two of them grew bigger and bigger. Luo Pokong, who claimed to be a peerless genius, found it hard to accept. Lu Ming's figure did not stop as he charged towards Luo Pokong. His cold-killing intent sent chills down Luo Pokong's spine. Lu Ming, how dare you touch me? I'm the Daluo Heaven Sect's pride. If you touch me, no one in Yuan Mountain can save you. Luo Pokong roared. The Daluo Heaven Sect had a great emperor in charge. He did not believe that Lu Ming would dare to touch him. If he touched him, Lu Ming would also die. In my life, many people have threatened me, but in the end, they all died, and am still alive. Lu Ming said coldly. His saint power burst out, and the law of chaos buzzed. He threw a punch, and a phantom of the prison-suppressing steel pressed toward Luo Pokong. Boom! Luo Pokong was directly sent flying to the ground, smashing heavily on the ground, creating a huge pit that was 10 miles deep. Luo Pokong lay in the pit, twitching and spitting out blood. That attack had broken all his bones and armor, and even his saint heart had cracked. At this moment, he was extremely terrified. Endless fear enveloped him. If Lu Ming really wanted to kill him, he was not just saying it. He was not afraid of the Daluo Heaven Sect at all. At this moment, he was scared to death. Buzz! Lu Ming's body appeared in the huge pit and he looked down at Luo Pokong coldly. Don't! Luo Pokong shouted as he vomited blood. Stop! Lu Ming, if you dare to kill him, the Daluo Heaven Sect will not let you off. An emperor-to-be of the Daluo Heaven Sect shouted. Luo Pokong was the king body of the Daluo Heaven Sect, so he couldn't die. Hee hee! Lu Ming sneered. The Daluo Heaven Sect would not let him go? Even if the Daluo Heaven Sect would let him go, he would not let them go. This was the oath he made to Qin Yu. In the future, he would definitely trample on the Daluo Heaven Sect, no matter what price he had to pay. Lu Ming stretched out his hand and grabbed Luo Pokong's monarch weapon spear. No! Luo Pokong shouted in fear and tried to escape. However, the spear radiance pierced through the air. The monarch weapon spear pierced through Luo Pokong's forehead and nailed him to the ground. Luo Pokong's eyes were wide open, full of unwillingness. Many people in the surroundings were also shocked. The Daluo Heaven Sect's king physique, Luo Pokong, was killed by Lu Ming just like that. The people of the Daluo Heaven Sect would go crazy if this news spread. However, the murderous intent in Lu Ming's eyes was still as cold as a knife. This is only the beginning. Lu Ming muttered and pulled out his monarch weapon spear. He soared into the sky and looked into the distance. At this moment, Luo Congqiong was fleeing frantically. He did not dare to stay there at all. Bubble, give me a hand. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Bubbles. All right. Under the Dian elixir furnace, the bubble responded. It waved its hands and the power of space-time laws enveloped Lu Ming's body through the void. Lu Ming's body moved as if he was traveling through the void, and he chased after Luo Congqiong at an extreme speed. With the help of Bubble's space-time law, Lu Ming's speed was even more astonishing. He was approaching Luo Congqiong at a rapid speed. Damn it! The emperor-to-be of the Daluo Heaven Sect stopped their attacks on Feng Ling and Long Chen and chased after Lu Ming. Luo Pokong was still fine, but if Luo Congqiong was killed by Lu Ming, the great emperor's fury would descend upon them and they would all die. They chased after Lu Ming crazily, but their speed was too far behind Lu Ming's and they could not catch up at all. Lu Ming's figure was like a flickering light and a passing shadow as he approached Luo Congqiong very quickly. Whoosh! Lu Ming pointed with his finger. The force of the chaotic finger of calamity condensed into a line and pierced through Luo Congqiong. Break! A battle axe appeared in Luo Congqiong's hand. This battle axe was extremely powerful. It was definitely a monarch weapon, and not an ordinary one at that. The battle axe slashed out and blocked Lu Ming's finger force. However, his body was also sent flying and his face was flushed. Although his cultivation base had broken through to the perfected absolute saint realm, his combat strength was much weaker than Lu Ming's. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.